Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. My name is Eric. Hope everybody is doing well. We have huge news coming out today. I think it's been absolutely nonstop. Osimhen, Cunha, Delap, Rashford, Rasmus, Anthony. The news has been nonstop. It's been a barrage. It's absolutely crazy. We have a jam-packed show today. Absolutely jam-packed. I think it's going to be a fantastic show. Great discussion, really. A lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff to get into. A lot of stuff to break down. So we're going to get into all the stuff. We're going to bring you the latest news. We're going to do it while it's live as well. We're going to go back in the past a little bit. We're going to get up to the live. But real quick, before we get into the news, please smash that like button. If you're watching now, smash that like button. If you're watching after it's aired, smash the like button. It helps the channel grow, and we greatly appreciate it. So if you want to help the channel in that way, just smash that like button. It takes 2 seconds, and it's an immense help. If you're new, subscribe if you enjoy the content. And make sure, if you do subscribe, hit the notification bell icon so you don't miss a live and you stay up to date. We are going live weekly. We're doing the transfer news. We're doing the weekly shows. And we are live after every single match, doing what we call the Red Devil recaps on this channel, where we do live player ratings and all that stuff. And today is also a big day for the channel because it is Discord day. We are launching our Discord. And you can join with that. The link will be in the live, and we will post it in the comment section after the show has ended as well. So we're gonna get straight into the news and go for the Cunha updates first. We'll get into Osimhen and Delap a little bit later in the show, and there's a couple loose transfer news as well. We might sign a 17-year-old wonder kid as well, so stick around. It's going to be a good show. And let's kick it off with Cunha. So, Laurie Whitwell carrying over the news from yesterday, the big, Cunha news. It started early this morning, saying Manchester United have held positive contract talks to sign Mattheus Cunha. Ruben Amorim and United executives are aligned on trying to bring in Cunha. Wolves want the 62.5 million release clause paid in full, but there is scope for installments. Now, before I give my 2 cents, I do have to say, a lot of the news that's come out today, it's kind of aligned, but there's a little bit of disparaging news. Some journalists and some outlets reporting United are going to pay this release clause. Some journalists and some outlets reporting that United are going to try and go for installments. We had this discussion today. It's the two only real options and the most realistic options. We can do either one depending on what kind of money we have. The news that's coming out, I mean, there seems to be an indication that we do have to have some type of money regardless of Europa League. Winning the Europa League, because to be doing these sorts of deals and working on them now, there has to be some type of transfer funds available. We don't know how much, but to be trying to do deals for Cunha, for Osimhen, and possibly Delap as well, or one of the two, or both, because we're going to get into that, because there's some quite updates that seem like it's stating that we might be going for actually both Osimhen and Delap, or we're doing a little bit of our homework, and we're just trying to have two options ready to go, and we pick one, and we either go left or we go right. So, but yeah, I mean, Cunha seems like it's dead on. There's being a push more in the news, being reported to us that they're looking to do this deal ASAP. It could be done as quick as June 1st, which the window does open June 1st. The Premier League has done a thing where they're going to open it for, I think, about 10 days or so. It'll then reclose for about 4 or 5 or 6 days like that, and then it'll reopen when it's supposed to normally open. They're doing this because there's like some PSR things, so they're opening it for a week so clubs can sort themselves out financially. It then closes, and then it reopens for the new financial year for the clubs, because the financial year for the clubs don't go with the normal business financial year, which is the beginning of January. They have their own sort of set window. So we're going to continue with the updates. There's a lot of Cunha updates. There's a lot of Osimhen updates. So I'm just going to kind of go through them, and we'll get to the chat. And we will start having a discussion as we normally do. But bear with me because we need to get through these updates. Otherwise, we'll never finish the show. We'll do an 8-hour show today, which I don't mind, but YouTube doesn't like it very much. But Fabrizio came in and chimed in shortly after, carrying over. This was about maybe like 14 hours ago or something, so we got a little bit of a way to go. But Fabrizio, the all but credible Fabrizio. Some people say he's a tap-in merchant, but some people they like the Fabrizio tweets. It brings them comfort. So says Mattheus Cunha is now giving priority to Manchester United. He's keen on joining United even without Champions League football. We sort of had that update yesterday from other sources, but Fabrizio Romano reiterating the news here. And then we carry over to this update from Jay Percy in the Telegraph saying Manchester United are hoping to pay for Mattheus Cunha in installments. Wolves would be open to a split payment. So again, we talked about this a lot yesterday, and we talked about this a lot yesterday, and you know, it's one of the two ways that we can possibly go. We're either going to do a split payment depending on the money. I would say, considering that, you know, I would take into account that we do have a little bit of financial trouble. Again, I don't think Manchester United are necessarily broke in terms of like we don't have like more than 30 million. I think we have a amount maybe to get one player, but considering the financial woes of United, it would probably be the better way for United to split the payments and not pay the 62 million up front, because that's a large fee and you have to write that off under one sort of summer. You have to pay the whole fee up front, and that might disbalance the books. It might cause some uncertainty around there. So, you know, I think we will probably do some sort of split payment where obviously we'll pay a little bit over the transfer fee, the buyout clause, excuse me. We'll pay a little bit over, kind of like we did for Xerxes, but we'll be able to split it out. So actually it'll be better for us. We'll end up paying around somewhere around 13.5 million per year for Cunha. So, you know, it probably is the more likely situation, but maybe Ineos surprises us, maybe United surprises us, and maybe they do go for Cunha. I guess it depends how the talks really go with Wolves. It seems like, you know, according to a couple sources, not just Jay Percy in the Telegraph, it seems like Wolves would be open to doing sort of the normal payment instead of just us giving them the straight up fee for the buyout clause, which is good because that means that we can go that route. If they're unwilling to do so and they hold out and we can't come to some sort of agreement on that, then, you know, I think that maybe they would be forced into doing that and they don't really want to do it, but maybe it's still an option that they can do. So let's carry on with the news though, because again, a lot of updates today. So this came from Rob Dawson, ESPN, saying Manchester United are exploring the possibility of triggering the 62.5 million pound release clause in Mattheus Cunha's contract. United have received positive indications about his willingness to move to Old Trafford if he is allowed to open formal negotiations. So again, you see a little bit of the contrast in reports. Some are saying that United are looking to do installments. Some are saying that United are exploring the possibility of triggering the release clause, completely bypassing any negotiations with Wolves, triggering the release clause, having the negotiations set out with the player and his agent and his camp. And if that's done, that deal can be done as immediately as United pretty much want to do it. Once there's a formal and complete agreement between Manchester United and Cunha's camp, if United were to do the release clause, that move can happen at any time, at any day that they choose that they want to do it. If they go the other route with Wolves, then maybe it takes a little bit longer because there's got to be negotiations with Wolves. They got to sort out, you know, how the structure is going to be paid, the payments and stuff like that. So it might take a little bit longer. But we have more updates, and I will get to the chat once we get through the Cunha updates. We'll take it break by break. But Manchester United are pushing to sign Mattheus Cunha. but may have to raise the money to trigger his 62.5 million release clause through sales. Ruben Amorim has identified Cunha as his prime target for the number 10 position. This is coming from Jamie Jackson. These are all high credible journalists. You know, these aren't people that are random Twitter accounts with a couple thousand followers or a couple 100,000 followers. These are all credible journalists. They're all pretty good. Did they get everything right? No. You know, transfer business is quite hard to get right. A lot of things change. Something that can seem credible, it could be a fact one moment, and something can transpire the next day through talks or through negotiations, and then the story changes. So it's hard to keep up. It's hard to kind of continue with that. But again, this is, I think, another good indication that fits sort of a piece to the puzzle here. Maybe United do want to trigger his 62.5 million release clause. Maybe we don't necessarily have the money for that. But if we get some sales, we'll have obviously the extra money. Sales through Marcus Rashford, through Anthony, maybe potentially Rasmus, and maybe potentially Alejandro Garnacho as well. Sancho is also included in that, and maybe one or two that we're not really maybe there's some question marks if we're going to be able to sell them or not. So it is quite interesting. I think we're going to get even more developments over the coming days. It seems like this is really starting to pick up quite heavy. And there's definitely, I think we're a little bit past smoke. I think there's a little bit of ember starting right now on these things, because the way in which these transfers stories are moving and the details that are coming out has developed quite quickly over the past 2 days, but especially today, it has transpired quite quickly as well. So we got more updates coming from Sky, Keva, so Sky Sports essentially saying Mattheus Cunha sees Manchester United as one of the biggest clubs in the world, and their current league position would not put him off as a potential move to Old Trafford. One source says Cunha loves United. We talked about this yesterday. This has been reported, probably since last summer. There was a video of him on vacation with his friends talking about how much he admires Manchester United. They're a big club, and he's honored to be linked with them. Obviously, that was last summer. He also did say that he's going to do one more season at Wolves, which he has done so. He's kept his word, and now it's time for him to move on. And he greatly respects Manchester United. He loves Manchester United. And we talked yesterday about how this can, benefit us considering our circumstances. To the person that's not a United fan, to people that are maybe just neutrals or just a general football person, they'll look at this and they'll go, why the hell would Mattheus Cunha want to go to Manchester United over maybe the likes of another team like Arsenal or even the Nottingham Forest, who, are fighting and doing their best to actually get Champions League football, and Manchester United are a little bit, less uncertain about Champions League football because we have to win Europa, and Nottingham Forest are a very good position in the league, and they look set to kind of get that Champions League spot with their performances in the Prem. But again, footballers and football people, they live in a little bubble, and they live different lives than us. And sometimes things happen in this little bubble where, it doesn't make sense, I guess, to the common football person. Everybody kind of says, if it was me, I'd go to this team. Why the hell would I go to that team? Well, there's always different circumstances. But for this factor, and this sort of thing here, sometimes you get a little bit lucky. There's a player that you actually want. There's a player that you actually like. There's a player you're trying to get. You think he has a good skill set, and he has some admiration for the club, and it plays into your benefit. So I think we're a little bit lucky in terms of this, because maybe this deal would be more difficult. Maybe he would be less reluctant to come and do this deal with Manchester United. He might be looking elsewhere. But if he loves Manchester United, sort of like how Ruben Amorim has stated the same, and he only wanted to be at one place, this plays to our benefit. This plays to our strength. So it's going to help us get this deal across the line. If his number one priority is Manchester United, so long as the negotiations go smooth, which I think they will, because I think we've done a better job since Ineos has come in. We have smarter people than we previously had, and I think it's developing quite well in terms of our situation. And I think it's actually kind of quite refreshing for Manchester United fans that we're kind of doing this business and we're getting kind of a jump start. Usually, yeah, we'd get rumors, but nothing quite substantial as sort of these sort of updates that we're getting right now. In the past, our first signing would come mid-July. And we would be scrambling and struggling to get another one or two, 3 matches into the new season. This is sort of a change of pace. I think fans will welcome it. I think fans are happy about it. And, I think it's something that is going to excite a lot of people because everybody always talks about we're too slow. Well, there's a possibility that we could be signing Cunha, maybe Delap and Osimhen together, or one of the two, and we can be getting them by June 1st. Now, I think there's some implications that go in there as well, considering the fact of, there's the money from Europa League. It depends if we're going to be in the Champions League or not. I think those things are determining factors for some of the deals, but they're definitely transfer targets. They're definitely on the list. We're definitely working on these deals. And I think United are already off to a good start, operating as a proper football club. We should be doing these things. We should have always been doing these things. We haven't done these things, in my opinion, for about 13 years. And it's definitely a positive change of pace and a positive way of operating and thinking. So if Ineos can actually get it over the line and get it done in quite a quick manner, I think it's a strong statement from them, but also perception for the club that we mean business. And yeah, we had a shit season, but we will never stop, kind of like that tifo that we had at Manchester at the match versus Lyon the other day. We have one more Cunha update. And this was, the last sort of update before I went live. And this came from Chris Wheeler saying that Mattheus Cunha to Manchester United is very close. So let's see how close it actually is. Let's see what transpires over the next couple of days. Maybe we'll get a couple more updates while we're live. And we'll, circle back to Cunha. Next topic is going to be Osimhen because there's been a lot of big updates around Osimhen as well. So we're going to see how that develops as well. And we'll get into that in a second. But Rashad is in the chat saying, big up. And he says he doesn't care about Victor Osimhen. Rashad has he has heavily opinionated, opinions on these sorts of players. Doesn't really like Cunha, doesn't care about Victor Osimhen. Rashad, give me some players that you want, because you don't like our transfer targets and the players that we're going for, which you don't have to, but maybe give us some players that you would rather take instead. Rajat says, why can't Ineos rely on players sales such as Rashford, Malacia, Anthony, and 25 million funding for funding Mattheus Cunha? They can, but it would take longer because we have to do the sales. We have to, negotiate that, get all those deals done. Those will take some time to do that. So we can do that. But if you want the deal done June the 1st, then we kind of have to subside that, and hopefully we have the money for that. If we don't have the money for that, the deal will probably take longer. And maybe we'll be able to do it with one sale of a player or 2 sales. But it might take a few weeks longer than if we just have the money outright. Because if we have the money outright or we have funds available, we can just do the deal. And we don't have to wait on signings. Then we can, on sales. And the sales can come for the other signings, like Delap or maybe Osimhen. And plus, there's also the factor of Europa League. We don't know what's going to happen. If we do win Europa League, we're going to get, it's worth about 80 million to us. I don't know how much that's going to go into transfers, but it should be a significant amount to open up, really, the wallet even further than we have. Rajat says he's following the Villa and City game right now. Yeah, it should be a good game. I mean, two top teams in the Prem playing against each other. It's a decently big game, so keep us updated on the score, I guess. Rajat says, believe Melissa Reddy said Mattheus Cunha is open to joining Manchester United without Champions League football. That's great to know. Yes, I mean, she's not the only one, and I'm going to be quite honest. There's a lot more credible people than her. Not that she's not credible, but she's just kind of she just kind of repeats the news of the other journalists, and you know, she works for Sky, so and she's also a Liverpool fan, so I didn't include her in these updates. I take the words of people like Chris Wheeler and Fabrizio, and you know, anybody else, Laurie Whitwell. These guys are always credible, especially Laurie Whitwell. He's top tier, top number one tier. If he speaks as a British journalist, you listen to him. You know, he's kind of like the Fabrizio of England a little bit when it comes to, especially when it comes to Manchester United and stuff like that. So, Rajat says he would get Pedro Goncalves. I mean, fair enough. But I think the players, I think these sorts of players, number one, like Mattheus Cunha, he fits the system excellently. He's actually already playing a very similar system at Wolves. He's integrated quite well and performed quite well to Victor Pereira's system at Wolves. And you know, it's basically almost a same system as Ruben Amorim. So they've identified that as the number 10, and I think that's an excellent choice. And we need a striker. We need a striker. So we need Osimhen or Delap. Again, I've been saying United can do a couple things. They can get either Delap or Osimhen. I would prefer Osimhen. I've been saying I would prefer Osimhen or Gyökeres because I want the experienced striker. I have a little bit of fear with Delap leading the line at his age with a little bit of lack of experience when you compare it to Gyökeres or Osimhen in terms of just being more experienced in terms of playing experience, but also playing in high quality competitions such as the Champions League and goal output. So I think Delap is a good player. I wouldn't mind Delap. I said that, you know, United could probably could possibly do something where they sell Rasmus Højlund and they, you know, they get Osimhen and Delap. And that way you have the experience and sort of the younger, sort of less experienced guy. I think many people would say that they think Delap is better than Rasmus. Certainly this season, I think that's obvious. But I think just in general, they would say that, which is fair enough. Some people would want to give Rasmus another season. I can see that side. I'm not completely against it. My main point and my main goal is Manchester United get a ready-made experienced striker to lead the line. They have to bear the load. It's a lot of pressure. I think it's probably one of the most pressured positions at Manchester United because you need to score goals. And without goals, we can't win matches. We've seen that this season. We've seen that during Ten Hag's tenure as well. We've seen it prior to both of them as well. We need to score goals to win matches. You know, having an elite experienced striker like Osimhen or Gyökeres will definitely lead to more goals regardless, because I think actually we play quite generally good in terms of play and build up play, and you know, we're decent in the attacking output, but there's just something not clicking in that front attack, and we're you know, Ruben's trying to reform this attack. I mean, you look at the attack we have now and you think, all right, well, what about Osimhen and Cunha up there, and then, you know, let's say Bruno. That attack certainly has a lot more fear, and you have a lot more confidence in it to score and to be very dangerous and threatening than sort of the attack that we have now, when you compare them side by side. So, you know, it is quite a big difference, and I think it would be quite a big statement. Lion Hearts is in here as well. Says, "Hey, yo, Eric, how you doing? How's everything going?" We just did updates on Cunha, and we're gonna get into Osimhen in a couple seconds. So, yeah, but Cunha seems like it's moving actually quite quickly. Still a disparage on, you know, if we're gonna be able to pay the 62.5 million up front, or we're going to go for installments. That sort of hasn't been clarified. Multiple journalists, top tier, have been saying one way or the other. I think United, I think let's put it like this. United right now are having talks with Cunha. They're obviously interested in Cunha. They've made him a top priority target. And I think right now where United sit is they are exploring both options. I think there hasn't been an actual decision yet. They are saying they are looking to either pay the 62.5 million up front, or they're gonna do it in installments. But they're doing work for both avenues, which is the proper and smart business. And you know, I hate kind of glowing up United for this, because this is what football clubs should be doing. But for us, it is really a big change, and it is actually sort of kind of a big deal when your club hasn't been doing things like this and operating in this manner in about 13 years. And we've been operating very badly. This is technically a normal standard of football, but for United, it's a huge change, because we haven't done business like this for 13 years prior to Ineos. We don't have multiple avenues of plans. We always used to throw our eggs into one basket, and if it goes sideways, we're totally screwed. We have no backup plan. We're scrambling. We're a mess. We end up overpaying because we're panicking and we need to get the deal done. And you know, the way we're going about things now, there's no way you can't argue that things haven't changed, and there's no way you can't argue that it's not a positive direction that we're going in, because it is a much better change. In terms of the overall project, it can still fail, but again, I think the fact that we're trying and we're doing different things is a positive thing, and it's good to see, and I'm happy about it, because we just couldn't continue to do the things we were doing. It's led to the position that we're sort of in with the financial hardship that we find ourselves in. So it's good that United are going in this direction. It's good that Ineos have some sort of a structured plan, and the people in charge like Vivell and Wilcox and Omar are working together, and you know, it seems to be a very concrete sort of plan and direction that they're leading Manchester United. Almo is here as well. Almo says, hey bro, I already seen that Wolves are open to installments. Yes, we kind of went through that a little bit. I'll backpedal just a little bit and kind of go through this. So, you know, Laurie came out this morning talking about that Wolves want the release clause paid in full, but there's scope for installments. Fabrizio, I don't think he mentioned anything about that, but he said that he will join without Champions League football. Jay Percy in the Telegraph, which is a credible source as well, said that United are hoping to pay Cunha in installments. Wolves would be open to a split payment. We had the other update from Rob Dawson saying that United are exploring the possibility of triggering the release clause. But that would have to come maybe about sales. If we do that, because this update has told us that as well from Jamie Jackson, saying that, you know, United are pushing but may have to raise the money to trigger the release clause. So again, I think we're exploring both options, which is the correct and smart thing to do. And I think it can go sort of either way. We don't know how much money United actually have. We don't know what kind of impact, you know, if we pay the release clause at this current moment. If we pay the release clause, we don't know what kind of impact it'll have on sort of PSR and the books, because we just don't have that information. United has that information. Sir Jim and, you know, Omar and Wilcox, they have that information, so they know what they're doing. They know what they can and can't do. I think there's a possibility of either way. I still believe that probably the most likely way is we will pay it in installments. I think it's, considering that we do have some sort of financial struggles, I think that it is probably the easier and better way for United, but it depends then on Wolves and how willing they're you know, and how those negotiations go, because they may be willing. But when you go in the negotiations, if there's a breakdown in negotiations, if you can't find an agreement, then it's going to make it a lot more difficult to kind of do that in installments. And then maybe we might actually have to do the release clause if we can afford it. And if we can't afford it, then we might have to rely on a bit of sales. So the deal might be a bit delayed instead of happening quicker than I think we all sort of expected. So, 10 to Villa, says Almo, and Rashford is taking it. Well, he'll probably score it. 1-0 to Manchester City. So, yeah, the game's kicking off there. The match kicking off there. Keep us updated. Keep us updated with that, because we'd like to know the scores. It's going to be a good match. So, you know, I fully expect that. Villa made it 1-1. So, I assume Rashford scored the penalty. almost says you've got to remember, as all the players wants to play for us, wants to join us, so he will wait as long as it takes, which is a bonus. But I did see that Wolves want it done quickly. Well, he also, as much as he would like to join us, you know, he also wants it done quickly. The players don't like waiting around. They want their you know, they want their future sorted out so they can get to work, so they can be focused. You know, they don't want uncertainty. Nobody likes uncertainty in life. Whether you're a footballer, a professor, you know, a construction worker, whatever. Nobody likes uncertainty. So the players, they want it done quickly as well. Now, he will, you know, wait a little bit, but I'm saying, like, if we were to drag this out to like somewhere in July, maybe like the first or second week in July, he might lose a little bit of patience, especially if other clubs like Arsenal or, you know, who are in a better position come knocking and they present him and say, listen, we could do this deal right now. We can sort your future out right now. You don't have to wait. We're here. The offer is here. We're ready to go. We have the contract on the table. All you have to do is sign it. But I don't think that will happen because of the way we're moving. So I think it will get done in some part of June. It just depends. Are we going to do it closer to June 1st when that initial period of the window opens? Or are we going to wait for that sort of financial year for the clubs to reset and then go for it maybe like, you know, the third week of June or something? I think it's indicating somewhere around there. I don't think we're going to drag our feet like how we normally done in the past. And I think there's a little bit of a difference with Elise as well. I think Elise was interested, but I think he was interested in listening to multiple offers. And I don't think Elise had sort of this affection to United like Cunha does. So there is a big difference there. Yeah, I don't think it would be necessarily like Quenda. Quenda went, you know, a different way. So this is certainly different sort of stuff. But I'm going to get into Osimhen now because we also had a lot of updates about Osimhen. We have like 10, 12 updates on Osimhen. So again, I'm not ignoring the chat. Let me get through the updates on one player and sort of one topic, and then I'll get to you guys when we come back, so we get to the opinions and to the discussion. But before I start that, let me just take care of these two comments. Almost said I did see something that as soon as the transfer window opens on June 1st, we're going to trigger the release clause. I don't know how true that is. Well, again, this is the disparaging reports, right? We don't know if we're going to do the release clause or we're going to do installments. I think we're exploring both options. So I think as of right now, both are a possibility. They're probably both, I mean, probably the installments is probably a little bit higher, but I think they're both decently credible options for United to take. I think it's just a matter of we have to give it a little bit of time and wait and see and how it transpires and how the negotiations go and how the talks go. But I think we can, I think right now it is certainly, the fact that they're looking to do both means that there is some sort of way that they can pay the release clause. I think they'd maybe prefer to do installments, but I think that the fact that they're looking at both options, you know, because if we couldn't, you know, if you think about it, if we actually couldn't afford to pay the release clause, then what's the point in looking at it, right? Like, you're not going to look to do something that you know you can't do. It's like if you're shopping for a car and, you know, you have a certain budget, you know, maybe you have 20,000 for a vehicle to buy a car. You're not going to go and look at a Lamborghini because you can't afford it. You're not going to be able to buy it. It's just impossible. You know what I mean? So you would obviously be looking to do, you know, a deal for a car at around that range. You know, so it's a little bit like that, in my opinion. When the deal where Man United were very interested, and then Chelsea, who already got 70 wingers, come in and get him off our hand. Yeah, but there was some things about that. Quenda, again, Cunha seems to have this affection to United. He respects Manchester United. I think Quenda probably didn't have that sort of similar feeling. You know, Cunha's been talked about for United for, you know, over a year. Like last summer, he was talked about. And I think Cunha really wants to join Manchester United. Quenda, again, is just one of those players that were interested. There was links because of him and Ruben Amorim, but there was also disparage between Quenda doesn't want he didn't want to play wing back. Now I don't know if that's a little bit of spin because we lost that transfer, but you know, the report was that Quenda doesn't want to play wing back. He wants to play winger. If he came to United, he would most certainly play wing back. At Chelsea, I think he's going to play winger. So I think that was a big thing for him. And also there was something about, you know, United were still interested. Obviously, we didn't have the money to sort of do that deal at that time because we have priorities. Obviously, Cunha and the striker. But the agent of Quenda didn't even alert United to the deal as well. You know, we didn't know apparently that Chelsea were about to do this signing, and maybe they would have reprioritized and reshuffled because I think they would have liked to get him. So it's a little bit different. These situations are not. I wouldn't say that they're the same. I think they're two different situations as of right now. So. Rashford's look sharp. I can't lie. Well, again, I said it. I said it many times before we sent him on loan, and I said it yesterday, and I said again. I never. It was never about Marcus Rashford's ability. It was always his mentality and attitude, and it just something was wrong with him at United. He just seemed very jaded. He just seemed very uninterested. Whatever those reasons are, I can't tell you what's gone on with him and why he would feel like that, but he certainly looked like it when he played for us on the pitch. He seemed very disillusioned with United and maybe the direction we were going. There was a report sort of that came out today that was saying that, you know, Rashford knows that he won't play for United again, especially with Ruben Amorim being here and you know, the senior officials. And I think that's quite obvious. They said there's been a breakdown of relationship. And I think that's been quite obvious. If you watch the Sir Jim interview that he gave, you know, a couple months ago, when they asked Sir Jim about, you know, Ruben Amorim sort of removing Rashford from Manchester United and sending him on loan, you know, the way he answered that question was like, it seemed like Sir Jim was also unhappy with Marcus Rashford. You know, he was asked, do you agree with that? And he just said, absolutely. But it was the tone he said it in as well. It seemed like Sir Jim was also disappointed and kind of over Rashford and wanted him out of the club. So I think I think everybody's on the same page when it comes to Rashford at United. Ruben Amorim doesn't want him and was disappointed with what he was giving in training sessions. And I think the executives at the club, since they've been here, I think they've been disappointed with what he was giving in training and on the pitch as well. So yeah, I think for any people holding out that they hope that maybe Marcus Rashford might be able to come back. Again, I've been saying I don't think it's going to happen, and I don't believe it should happen. I've always said that it just seems like the relationship had gotten to a point where we have to part ways. I think it's good for us. I think it's good for him. So, you know, whatever happens in his career, best to him. I don't hold any hate towards him or anything like that. You know, he's got to go do what he's got to go do, and we have to go do what we got to go do. So we got to move on. We got to move on. Yeah, and Rashford also kind of did say, like Lion said, you know, he kind of did do that whole thing where he kind of did say that he's going to leave. I think he kind of said that though, because I think it was kind of told to him that he would no longer be here. So I think he came out and then was pretty much like, yeah, I'm gonna leave United, you know? I don't think he would have necessarily made that statement if things didn't transpire the way they did. But he did make the statement that also that, like, you know, he pretty much said that, like, he's gonna go on to a new challenge. So do you think Villa will take up the option to buy? Well, there was an update about that as well, and that's sort of to the end of the show, so we'll circle back to that. But I want to get into Osimhen. I want to get into Osimhen. Box is in here as well. Says forget Rashford, and that's kind of my sentiment on it. Lyle's in here as well. Says, hey Eric and all you Reds, how you guys doing? Glad everybody's joining. You know, now, so it's good. We're getting rolling. We went through Cunha already, so you kind of missed that. Maybe I'll circle back at the end of the show, but we're going to get into Osimhen now. I want to get into Osimhen because we got some big updates for Osimhen. And I'm going to try to do my best to go through this. Bear with me. There's a lot of updates. There's about like 12. So I'm going to kind of run through them, and I'll come back to the chat. I'm not ignoring you guys. I would never do that, but there's a lot to get through today. It's a little bit of an abnormal show here. So we're going to kick off. This came from Fabrizio. in the early hours of the day, starting off the day, almost 24 hours ago. It was, I think, maybe about 20 hours ago. Fabrizio starting off, kind of carrying the conversation, saying United are interested in Osimhen. There's no agreement at the moment. United are waiting to see if they qualify for Champions League to understand how much they can invest on a striker this summer. Following updates go with Tutto Sport, which is an Italian outlet, saying United have reached a general agreement with Osimhen's entourage on personal terms. We then go into the update that says from Sam C, saying, well, he works for the United Stand, but he gets some credible news. They have sources, so, you know, we take it as it goes. Liam Delap is favored by some senior Manchester United board members, but the club are also looking into the possibility of signing Victor Osimhen. So there's also some updates about Delap. There's a little bit of a crossover here. We're going to kind of get into that whole conversation between Osimhen and Delap. What's going to happen? Which one would you rather take? Which one's probably the best option for United and stuff like that. So, but yeah, there seems to be some reports in terms of, it seems like Ruben really wants Osimhen, and that Jason Wilcox is really pushing for Liam Delap. So there's kind of a little bit of a back and forth going on inside of United, which is fine. It's good because you need to thoroughly do these things anyway. You need to thoroughly discuss the options. You have to have multiple options. We shouldn't be putting all our eggs into just Delap, or we shouldn't be pulling all our eggs into just Osimhen. We should be working on both. That way we can choose. You know, when we get to the final details, we can actually make a decision, and we have multiple options to choose from. You don't want to have just one option. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket like United used to do. Remember Sancho? It was only Sancho. 2 years. We had no backup plan. We had no backup options. We couldn't even get the deal done the first summer because Borussia Dortmund were holding us to ransom, and they were being dickheads in negotiations. And we had stupid people in charge as well. So, you know, these things sort of happen. But carrying on the Osimhen updates, this comes from the Disco Mayor. A little bit less credible, but I think it depends on the journalist. I didn't look at who actually wrote the article for the Disco Mayor, but this followed up by saying United are pushing ahead with a £40 million deal to sign Osimhen this summer. Amorim has made Osimhen his top striker target for the summer, and Amorim favors Osimhen over Delap, like I just sort of mentioned. Now, people thought that Osimhen might cost more, maybe around 60 million or so, but there's been reports that Osimhen is in the last year of his contract, so there is a possibility that United might be able to do this deal for 40 million, which is quite good because his wages are going to be quite high. You know, there was some reports prior and previous that he might want somewhere around 300,000 it would come out to, and that's quite high. And I don't know if Ineos necessarily want to give him that money. They're trying to cut down the wage budget. They have done so, though, because we're not as high as we used to be. I think we're like 5th or 6th in terms of spending on wage. We're quite below City and Liverpool, and I think Chelsea as well. So we're not as high as we used to be. We used to be the highest, and you know, it was very bad because we couldn't accomplish anything. But we've cut that down quite significantly. So maybe they do give him 250,000 or something like that. Listen, I say if you have 1 or 2 players, there's always Casemiro, but that's from the previous regime, and we're gonna look to get him out at some point, whether it's this summer or next summer, let his contract run out, whatever it is. If you have 1 or 2 players, I think, you know, it has to be below 300,000. We shouldn't be hitting 3, and we shouldn't be doing 350, especially for somebody that is new, that is coming to United, that hasn't, like, sort of earned it. You have to earn it in a United shirt as well. But I do understand because, you know, he is on a decently high wage already, and he is in very high demand. So he has the right to ask for this, and he is considered an elite striker. So, you know, he has the right to ask for that, and he should get paid what he feels like he is worth, right? But for United's prospects, obviously you want to have it as low as possible. But there was a couple more updates that we need to do. Disco Mirror again saying Ruben Amorim sees Osimhen as the perfect player to solve United's goal scoring problems. And Chris Wheeler again coming in. He came in with some Cunha updates. Now he's sort of done a little bit of Cunha and Delap, saying that United intend. I don't know why I put this in the wrong spot, so excuse me. But United intend to trigger the release clause of 62.5 million for Cunha and 30 million for Delap to sign both players once the transfer window opens on June 1st. United want to wrap up both deals as quick as possible. I put that there because while we're talking about Osimhen and we're looking at this deal, you know, we have other sources saying that United are looking to do Cunha and Delap at the same time and get them in for June 1st. So there's a little bit of confusion because it's like, well, are we getting Osimhen or are we getting Delap? Are we getting both? Obviously Cunha is settled and ready to go. There's no doubts about Cunha if we're going for him or not, but there's definitely something interesting that has developed here today because you know, for the past couple weeks, it's been Delap is the number one target for Manchester United. They're going to go for Delap. There's been talks about United are interested in Osimhen, but they kept saying Delap is the number one target. Delap is the number one target. It seems like Osimhen has taken a backseat and Gyökeres has dropped down to 3, and maybe not even a viable option. And, you know, Chris Wheeler coming here with this update saying that United are looking to do both these deals and that they want to trigger both release clauses by June 1st. So I don't know how we're going to necessarily do that because we're going to go from being broke to spending 92.5 million in release clauses by June 1st. I feel like that's a little bit less likely to happen. And again, maybe they surprise us because again, we don't actually know what money we have, what budget we have, and how we can actually maneuver. You know, I know they say we're broke, but again, I've never believed that we're actually broke. I think we're struggling a bit for money. I think we have to be a little bit cautious in terms of the way we spend and how we spend, but that doesn't mean that we can't actually spend. And if we do this sort of deal, I think then it actually would be quite funny because it'd be like, well, we were actually never actually that broke, right? And it would just have sort of an impact. Because, I mean, listen, what if we do Cunha and Delap, we get that out of the way, and then we start looking at some sales, and we get Rashford out, we get Sancho out, we get Anthony out, possibly maybe Rasmus Højlund. We get money from that. We go for Osimhen. We get that deal done, and we start moving along. And what happens also if we get Europa League? You know, we can have a much bigger transfer window than I think anybody's expecting. And it could get quite crazy because you're talking about signing these two. You can get Osimhen as well if they choose to do that, or maybe they just stick with Delap. But then also we're going to go for other positions as well. You know, Ruben wants somebody in the midfield. He wants some sort of a wing back and a defender and possibly a goalkeeper as well. So, yeah, I think it's a little bit crazy right now. It's a little bit crazy for this time because we're still about, you know, about a little bit over a month away from the window actually opening. So, the fact that these are transpiring this quickly and it seems very concrete at this period in time is quite exciting. I have a couple more updates to Osimhen, so let me get to that, and I'm going to get to the chat. I'll probably miss a couple things, but I'll try my best to get to all the comments. So this came from Chris Wheeler as well, saying that Victor Osimhen is an option for United, and the club could be persuaded to let Rasmus Højlund return to Italy as part of the deal. And there's another update on Rasmus that comes later on as well, which could be a possibility as well. I think there's two options here, if this is credible and this isn't just pure speculation. It seems like maybe Rasmus might be sold, whether you want him to or not. He might be sold. Apparently, he has he has a transfer a transfer number listed for him. And there's also the possibility, because apparently there's still interest in Garnacho as well. So maybe something in that sort of way happens as well, that leads to the sale of Osimhen. And this is the update on Rasmus coming from Jamie Jackson, saying Højlund's price tag this summer is around £30 million. We do need to sell him. for probably around 40 something to kind of not take a significant transfer profit loss on for PSR and stuff. 30 million is, I mean, the way he's performed, people will say they'll take the 30 million, but in terms of sort of balancing out the books, I think somebody did the math and they say we have to sell him for about 40 million, around there, so that it kind of breaks even in a way. So that's a little bit interesting. Let's see how that develops over the next, I guess, days and weeks. I think that it is a possibility that we do sell Rasmus. I was thinking about it today. And, you know, our CEO, Omar Barada, once upon a time, had a statement and said that, you know, he wanted to sort of bring what they did at City. And what they did at City was you have 1 to 2 seasons to perform as a signing. And if you don't perform and you don't show any potential or sort of kind of, you know, a little bit of worth of your value, we move you on after the second season. And, you know, maybe he wasn't able to do that last summer because they just got in and they were sort of finding their feet. But they're going to be here for a year when you talk about it in terms of the transfer window. And maybe they're going to carry it out. I'm very interested to see if he actually follows suit with that. I think so far we're following suit in terms of we're copying City with not signing players over 60 million. You know, I know City ended up signing Grealish and a couple other players later on, but the initial period where they built the club, where they built their team, they didn't spend over 60 million on any player. The prices were good, the wages were good, and they kept it balanced, and it allowed them to do very good transfer business over the next few years that they built the team into what they built the team into. So, yeah, we have 2 more updates on Osimhen, and I'm going to get to the chat. So this update came from the Muppeteers. If you don't know Muppeteers, credible Muppeteers. We listen to Muppeteers. Another American out there, American fan, American-led content. So big up to him. I like him. I chat with him on X from time to time as well. So it's good, you know. We don't have many of us out there, but there are some of us, you know. The Americans, we get a little bit of a bad rap because of the rest of us, but there are American United fans out there that live and breathe Manchester United, and I'm certainly one of them, and so is he. So Muppeteer saying United have made contact about Victor Osimhen, and he followed that up by Victor Osimhen is really highly admired by Manchester United as potentially the best striker available. United want to know the nature of the deal that could be done. It is conditional. The club will want to get a better fee/wages, and it still may require a major departure or Champions League qualification. So I think that's probably one of the more credible updates. It seems more logical and more real in that sort of stuff going on. So yeah, but let me get to the chat because I want to see what you guys are saying, and we just went through a lot. So it's a lot to digest, it's a lot to break down, and we don't just want to be reading you know, news and stuff like that. It's all about the discussion. So I see Box. Yeah, I see everybody's joined. So how you guys doing? Almost says, did you see the other guy that we're interested in? Yes, we're gonna get to him. We're gonna get to him at the end of the show. I left him for the end of the show. So we're gonna get to him. Almo. His name is Mastan Tuano. 17-year-old attacking midfielder. We'll talk about him a little bit towards the end when we get to some of the other updates. Rajat says we need a box-to-box midfielder to not help attacking line only. Well, yeah, we do. I would say, in some sort of sense. I think he is, you know, it is reported that he wants an 8 of some sort. So I think, did I say an 8? Yeah, I think they said an 8 last time. But they did say that they do want a midfielder as well. But we definitely need to strengthen the attack. I think attack wins you games. You know, some people say defense wins you games. I think it's both. But listen, I think at times we've been defensively not that great, but at times we have been defensively good. But when we're defensively good, we can't score and we can't win the match. And my football sort of philosophy is outscore your opponent. I think the stronger the attack we have, the better we will be. And that way, if we do have lapses in defenses, we should negate that by outscoring the opponent. If we can somehow get the attack to click and score 3 to 4 goals a game and average that or close to that, 2.5 goals a game, we should be very dangerous, and we should be much better, and we should be getting more points, and we should be higher in the table and all sorts of stuff. So again, priority, striker 10. And then from there, you can go and argue whatever you need to argue. Get in a midfielder, get in another wing back, get a center back, get a goalkeeper. Alma wants the goalkeeper at number 1, and fair play to him. I would say, I would argue anywhere from 3rd position to 5th position, we can start talking about goalkeepers and midfielders and stuff like that. But for me, the striker and the 10 position, I think are the top 2. I think they're the most important. Because we need to figure out how to score goals. We need to be more threatening, and we need to fix it. We have never actually fixed the attack, and that's why it's been so inconsistent over the years. So, Box says Jashari from Club Brugge would be a shrewd centre mid for about 30 million. Ederson would be a top buyout for 60 million. Well, Ederson has been named today as well. We're looking sort of at him at an option. I know we talked about him a little bit. It's a little bit less. There's a little bit less smoke there when you talk about Ederson, when you compare it to Cunha and Osimhen and Delap right now. So I think maybe he is certainly an option that we are considering, and he's on the list, but it's sort of on a back burner because we're prioritizing doing Cunha, Delap, Osimhen, and then once we get on that, we can move on to the next phase. So maybe that story will sort of heat up after we kind of get these under wraps and what transpires. So Almost says we will have competition for these players. I believe that we will get it done very quickly, probably even by the end of May, which would be nice. Like we done with Luke Shaw ages ago. It would be nice. I think United fans would be very happy and very excited. We've been asking for this sort of stuff. And again, I think it's a big statement, and it's a positive. People don't like the word PR, but PR isn't everything, and it could be positive and it could be negative, and it doesn't have to always be fake, and it doesn't always have to be, sort of malicious and tricking people and stuff like that. I think it would be good for Ineos, and I think it would be good for Manchester United, considering the season we had, and finishing in a shit position in the league. To go out and already start doing these transfers and sort of make these sort of big statements that we mean business, and that, yeah, we've had a bad season, but it's not going to stop us. We have a plan, and we're going to move forward with it, and we're going to show that we're serious. I think it would be good to get 1 or 2 of these done as early as possible. But also for Ruben Amorim and for the squad. I mean, we talked about integration yesterday. We talked about how we need to get these players in, a majority, and basically all of them. I mean, perfect ideal world, we get all our signings in before preseason, but I think we should get 85% of the transfers that we're going to do. We should be getting them in before preseason because they need the preseason. Ruben needs the preseason. He needs them there for the preseason, but they need the preseason. We've seen the likes of like Ugarte not really having a preseason, missing out on our preseason, not really playing for PSG, coming in late. It took him months to get up to speed. It took him till about mid-November, late November to really start looking at least decent. Before that, he was very, very, behind. So it's important that we get these players in ahead of time because they're going to learn the system. They're going to get used to their teammates. They're going to get used to Ruben. They're going to build chemistry. So the earlier they're in, the better it is for our team. So all 3 players would cost about 40 million more than Anthony. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, listen, if these things are accurate and these updates are well, I mean, Cunha, 62 million. And, I keep thinking, I don't know if we're going to do it, but I feel like based off of the news that we've been given today, we might do Delap and Osimhen. I don't know if they're going to do it. It's not as clear cut. Many people say, they might think, no way, we're only going to get 1, which is fair play because that can happen too. But the way that both of this is moving, both of these stories are moving, in addition to the fact that Rasmus has a price tag and they potentially are looking to move Rasmus on, again, I think it can be very plausible that United sell Rasmus Højlund, and we end up getting Osimhen and Delap, and Delap becomes the second striker. He becomes, you know, what Rasmus, or what people are saying, that Rasmus shouldn't be leading the line. Delap becomes that player, and Osimhen becomes the guy leading the line, which I think would be, to me, would be insane. Actually, it would be amazing if we're doing that, because I think as far as I would say, you know, I would give Rasmus another season as long as he's the backup. But for me, the backup means backup not to Delap. It has to be to Osimhen. I would be okay to see what he can do. You know, if the pressure's a little bit off of him, and Osimhen leads the line and bears the weight of that. But again, I always also said, you know, listen, if they do sell Rasmus and they go and get Delap and Osimhen, I think that's good transfer business as well. So I'm not against that. I'm not against that in any way. Rajat says, how about João Felix? I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you there. Absolutely not. No, not on a loan. I don't want João Felix. I don't rate him. I've seen him in the Prem. Once upon a time, you know, when he left Benfica, very good player. I think him going to Atletico Madrid destroyed his career. It was not the right football. It didn't fit him, and I think it's gone all bad. So I'm sorry, Rajat, but I would not take João Felix, not even if he was the last player on this planet. I don't want him. I don't rate him. I don't think he's good. We've seen him at Chelsea. I don't think he was good at Chelsea. We've seen him in the Prem. I don't think he's good for the Prem. So I wouldn't go anywhere near João Felix. I think João Felix is, unfortunately, I think at one point he was a very good player and he had a high potential. I think that's all gone. I think that's gone. I think he's a mid player, and I think we should go nowhere near him. Plus, João Felix is going to go back to Benfica. You heard that here first. If you care or not, but he is going to go back to Benfica. I think him and Bernardo Silva are going to end up going to Benfica. Lyle says, we are not broke, but in terms of PSR and FFP, we are screwed. Well, maybe in that sort of sense, but maybe we just have to walk a fine line. Maybe we can still operate, and maybe we just have to be careful, you know? But let's see. Temizgin says, I want Osimhen and Nico Williams, Cunha, Kirkez, Ederson, Turkey to United is better for next year. I like how he always changes it just slightly. He always keeps Kirkez and he always keeps Nico Williams, but he changes it just slightly. But I like it. I mean, it would be a very good window. It's a little bit heavy attacking. I mean, Kirkez, you know, wing back. It's a little bit heavy attacking. I would add in, well, you know, to be fair, Ederson's the midfield. I think it's sort of balanced. I would add a center back in there, and Almo would add a goalkeeper. In there as well. So, Box giving us some wages in here, saying Rashford will get us about 50 million plus, maybe 40. But all right, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But maybe 40. I think maybe 40. He's homegrown. Helps with PSR. Well, that absolutely 100%. Anthony will get us about 30 million, which that's what's been reported, and hopefully we can do that deal for 30 million. That would be good. I mean, it's bad because we signed him for 80, but considering the way he was playing for us, most people would have said we can't even get 15 for him. So if we get 30, I think that's good. Sancho about 25. If Marseille sell Greenwood for about 50 million, we get 50% of the fee. That totals somewhere to around 130 million. And that's why the sales are going to be important. And this is what we're trying to navigate. And this is what we're trying to understand. I think we have some sort of an initial budget without that amount of money, without Europa League, Champions League qualification and the money from Europa League. We have something where we can at least, I think, go and get at least one or two players in the immediate. And then I think everything after that will have to do with a little bit of sales and also Europa League. But the way it seems like we're talking about it, if we do have this money available right now on a certain level, and we do these sales and we get about 100 million, let's just make it flat 100 million, and we do qualify for Europa League, and that is worth 80 million to United, and we don't know how much that goes into the transfers, but I mean, the wallet will explode at that point, and we might actually be able to go sign like 7 players if we really want, maybe 8. I was targeting 5, but if things go our way and we get these sales for these prices of these players, and we actually do win the Europa League, I think it opens the transfer door wide open for United, and I think actually it becomes a little bit more like sky's the limit, and we're going to be in an exceptional position, an exceptional position. So let's see how it goes. RSV says Erik ten Hag really did a lot of damage this club with the summer of 2023 window. Well, again, you know, him and I always confuse him and Richard Arnold and John Murtaugh. They all did the damage together. They're all at fault. They're all at fault. That summer 2023 window is arguably the worst window in terms of value for money spent on those players. I agree. Listen, and that's where I split that. You know, Ten Hag targeted the players. He asked for the players, but, you know, you have to, when you say that, you got to be fair in the criticism. You have to give it to United as well. You have to give it to Richard Arnold and John Murtaugh, because they are the ones that they did the negotiations. They sanctioned the buys for the prices. So it's not just Ten Hag. Ten Hag identified the players, so you can blame him for saying, you know, that player is shit. But at the same time, you know, Richard Arnold and co, they're the ones that agreed to pay 80 million for Anthony. You know, they're the ones that sanctioned a 72.5 million deal for Rasmus Højlund. They're the ones that paid these fees. They agreed for these fees. So again, it's never one guy. It's never one person. We are a club. It is a collective. You know, Ruben is working with Wilcox, with Vivel, with Omar. You know, they're doing it together, and it was the same before. You know, they have all a part to play, so they're all a part to blame. But thankfully we don't have those people anymore, and thankfully we're going in a different direction. So that is the positive. Plus Chelsea doesn't have our kind of debt. Well, yeah. Can Ineos add another 5 to 8 million euros to this transfer value if he gets more goals or assists versus Manchester City in this game? Well, maybe. I mean, it's all about negotiations. We got to see what happens. RSV says Erik ten Hag, I would say, is the only manager I do not feel sorry for out of all the managers we've had post-Fergie. Erik ten Hag basically ruined and hindered our future with all those signings he's demanded. Well, he was one that was certainly, I would say, probably backed the most. In a certain sense. I mean, we spent a lot of money, and even Ineos backed him, and they were very unsure. And I think they did the right thing, because they were unsure if it was all his fault in terms of managing or not. And they, you know, came to the conclusion in the middle of the season that, you know, they made a mistake in keeping him. But I think they did the right thing in terms of that they did buy players. They did have a good window for him. Because they could have just sort of left him hang. You know, they gave him a shot. They gave him an opportunity to sort of succeed. And they could have just left him out to dry. They could have just been like, yeah, we're not too sure about this. Let's just save our money. And if it goes wrong for this guy, you know, we sack him and we'll use it on the other manager. Kind of how we've done in the past. You know, Mourinho's third season, Mourinho was crying for transfers. We basically didn't spend anything because they didn't really trust him anymore. And they didn't want to spend money. So, you know, yeah, I think he was definitely back the most. But again, incompetence at the highest level from Manchester United up there. You can't have a football club that operates like that. You need all parts of the football club operating properly. So, almost says, I think that Ederson will have a much bigger suits that have Champions League football, but we might win the Europa, so we might have it ourselves. Again, that's why we have to wait and see. I think some deals, there's deals that we can definitely do that, you know, we'll get straight into it, no problem. And I think there's some other deals that there's some other determining factors like Champions League football and like player sales and stuff like that. So it's going to be an interesting window. We say this almost every window, but I really do feel like this is going to be one of Manchester United's biggest ever windows, because it's going to be one of the most important windows in our recent history. And it's going to be certainly interesting. I think it's going to be a bit chaotic, but I think it's going to be very interesting. Almost says, I don't want to be negative, but it's ever occurred to you that these players might refuse to leave? Yes. I think Casemiro is certainly one. I think Rashford won't refuse to leave, and I think Anthony won't refuse to leave. I think you hear them speak, and you see the news that comes about them, and it's almost like they do want to leave. So I don't think Rashford or I don't think Rashford or Anthony are gonna refuse to leave. I think they will go. I don't think they'll give us problems. I think Casemiro is the one that will refuse to leave. I don't think he wants to go. I think it will be a struggle to get him out if we try to get him out. So I think that is an issue. I think Rasmus wouldn't hold out either. I don't think he's had such a great time. And I think if you know what happens for most players is that, like, you know, if the club basically says, like, we don't want you, most people, considering that they're human beings, they don't want to be somewhere where they know they're not wanted. You know what I mean? Like, you get the occasional guy that goes, yeah, screw you, I'm staying here and whatever, and I hold out to my last breath, and sometimes it's for a different reason. Sometimes they do it out of spite. Sometimes they do it in the case of Casemiro, where he's just at the end of his career. He's not going to get the money that he's getting. And maybe he just doesn't really feel like moving. His family is settled in England. He doesn't want to switch countries. He doesn't want to, you know, do that sort of thing. He's at the end of his career. He just kind of wants to just walk out in grace, I guess, in his eyes. But sometimes players do it out of spite. But I feel like, you know, Rasmus, if they go to sell him, I feel like Rasmus won't. You know, I feel like most players, they'd be like, if they're known that they're not wanted, people just go, well, I'm not going to stay here then. They don't feel good about it. They don't want to stay there. They want to go to somewhere where they're wanted. So if they're told that they're not wanted, I think most of these players will go. I think Rashford will go. Now, he might make it annoying in terms of negotiations. It might be dragged out because he might ask for a certain, you know, wage. He might have certain demands, so it might not be as clear cut as just like, yeah, you're sold and gone. It might get dragged out, but I don't think Rashford is going to be like, I'm not going anywhere. Rashford needs to play football. Rashford wants to be in England. He wants his career back on track. The people around him that do his brand want his career back on track because his brand is being hurt by him not playing football. So him refusing to leave won't work because he won't play at Manchester United. Ruben won't play him. And he'll just be sat like he was before he went on loan. So I don't have any real reservations about that. Rajat says, to be fair, Erik ten Hag didn't have any structure like this manager and coach. That's also true, and that's why you have to spread the blame. I mean, Richard Arnold and Murtaugh and the structure there, they were bad. Just like the previous, 12 years before that, they were always bad. They were incompetent. They didn't know what to do. Ineos is much more competent than them. How competent they are and how great their plan is going to work, we don't know, but they're obviously clearly better than what we had. We're clearly doing already better than what we had for the past 13 years. He does deserve blame, though, because he identified players and he had final say and he had ultimate power. So, he identified these players and he brought them in. So he does deserve blame for that. But in terms of paying the fee, and sanctioning the deals, and also him acquiring that power, that goes on, our CEO and John Murtaugh and et cetera, et cetera. They're the ones that allowed that to happen. They made that happen. So without them, Ten Hag couldn't even do that sort of thing. So this is the restart window, super important. I really hope it is. I hope this time it is like the real one, because all the other ones that they told us in the press was absolute bullshit. They never had a plan. They never did the proper reset. Never. We never had a proper plan and a proper, way to go about things. It was all just bullshit. It was all PR. It was all just fake, to try and get us to calm down so we didn't, go absolutely ballistic and like, stop matches and shit like that. But now I think, these guys are quite serious. Again, I don't know if their way is the right way. I don't know if their way is going to be the successful way, but it is definitely more serious and it is definitely more better than what we've had. So it's fantastic that we're moving in this direction. Almost says, what about Sancho? He strikes me as one that would be refusing to leave. Well, I think that deal's already done, though. I don't think we have to worry about Sancho. I think the only part would happen is, if Chelsea don't pay the money and they pay the $5 million and send them back to us. But again, listen, these players, they're not really in a position of power because they want to play. They want to play. I don't think they want to sit in the reserves and collect money. These guys, like Sancho, wants to play. Sancho's not in England. I think he's depressed about that. He was once upon a time in England. I think he's trying to get back there. And he doesn't have a chance at United. So I don't think I don't think so. And plus the deal's already pretty much done. I mean, his people have signed on to that. So there's an obligation. So I don't think I consider him gone already. He's gone as far as that, unless something develops, unless they pay the 5 million. But if they pay the 5 million, I still don't think he'll hold out like that. I think it would just be a little bit more difficult because then we have to find somebody else. It would get dragged out. We would have to find somebody else to, a suitor, maybe Borussia Dortmund, but then we have to deal with them in negotiations, and they're going to cry to us that they don't have money, and they can't do this deal for any more than, 20 million, or whatever they're going to say, because I'm telling you, I hate Dortmund. I hate the way they operate. They're dickheads, and they're dickheads to us. Almost as Rashford wants Barca, but I did see that he's happy with Villa. Well, that's the thing. I think initially Rashford was really holding out for Barca in January. But you know what happens sometimes in life? You know how sometimes you're very reluctant to do something because you don't feel good about it, and you start thinking about but I don't really want to do this, and you start thinking all these negative things like that's not really where I want to go. It's not going to be necessarily good for me. And I think he was sort of in that mindset, like, I need to go to Barca because they're this big name, and Barca to Villa is like a different thing, and it's better for his brand and football and whatever. And maybe he, likes the football that they play and stuff like that. But now that, it came to the point where it was like, all right, it's either Villa or I'm going to stay in the reserves and I have no chance in resurrecting my career and getting back to England. And now that he's gone to Villa and he's experienced Villa, maybe his feelings and his mentality towards Villa has changed. And he goes, you know what? Because I wasn't really about this, but now that I've been here and I've been going sort of through this experience, I actually quite like it here. And I don't necessarily have to go to Barcelona. Maybe I'll just stay here. So I think maybe that sort of transpired as well. I mean, that things like that do happen. Almost as Chelsea definitely won't take up Sancho. I'm sure of that. I disagree. Because I think they would have just already. I think they would have just already done it. So I wouldn't say that. I don't think it's nailed on. I think there's room for them that they won't take him up. I think there's a possibility, but I won't say it's one way or another, because I think if that's done and dusted, they would have already taken up the option. I think if they were so displeased with him, they would have done it, a month ago. They would have done it today. They would, I think maybe they're pondering and maybe they haven't made a final decision, but I think they can take him up. I think there's a possibility maybe they don't, but I wouldn't say it's dead on. And I kind of lean a little bit more towards he is going to be sold, just for the fact that I feel like if they really didn't want him, they would have just sent him back already. So almost as with this manager, what is the percentage of Rashford or Sancho being in the squad next season? 0, in my opinion. 0. Even if they sell, it's not just with the manager, Almo. It's not just with the manager. It's with Sir Jim. It's with Omar. It's with Jason. I don't think any of them want either one of them. So they have no chance. No chance of ever playing. They have no chance of staying at this football club. I think Ruben, Wilcox, Barada, and even Sir Jim, and whoever else, Vivel, whoever, I think they've all come to the conclusion that these guys are out. There is no chance. There's no way of them. They don't care if they score 20 goals each. They're not coming back. It's not just about ability. It's about the way they conduct themselves. It's about their mentality and their attitude and how they've handled themselves in the club. And I don't think that they like either one of them. And I don't think they will accept either one of them coming back, because again, they are building a new environment and a new platform for the manager and for the club. And you can't have players like that. We are in a situation right now. I will liken it to the situation of, we have Amorim. We know the system. We know the style of play he wants to implement. We don't necessarily have the personnel. And what I'm seeing is the same as Arteta at Arsenal. We are at the same breaking point. Rashford and Sancho are Aubameyang and Ozil in a similar way. They were two big players. There was issues around them for one reason or another, and they got rid of them. And they started transforming the team. And I think that's where we are right now. I think we're at a crossroad. We have players like Rashford. We have players like Anthony. We have players like Sancho. And it's time to get them out. And it's time to build something new. And to get something fresh. And start moving away from the loser shit that we have been in for 13 years. And go in a different direction. And walk a new path. And I think we're there. I think we're there. I think we are there. I don't think it's just the manager. It's, this is different. It's not just about Ruben Amorim. In fact, it's a little bit less than just the manager because the guys that are in charge. I think they are setting up the plan for the club that it is the proper way. It's not just about Ruben. Ruben is a guy that's going to be lending a helping hand. But if Ruben ends up getting sacked at some point, or he leaves, or it just doesn't work out well, the project must continue without Ruben. The project is bigger than Ruben. It has to be bigger than Ruben. We've never done that. The project has always surrounded the manager. This time, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like the project is big. It's bigger than the manager. It's not. The project isn't revolved around the manager. The project is the project. The manager is there to help the project move forward and progress. And I think that's why it's different this time. I feel like it's going to be different. I feel like it is different already, but I feel like as more time transpires and more things happen, I think we're really going to see how actually different it actually is. Rajat says, while the manager welcome Anthony or Jadon Sancho back, but if he prefers Spain and Real Betis, let him stay there. Plus, I don't think but listen, I stand by the fact that if you let Rashford go on loan, if you let Anthony go on loan, this isn't, it's not Harry Amos. You're not loaning out Harry Amos for development. You're not loaning out a youth player to see, can they develop a little bit, what they got about their game, get them some first team football. It's not, these loans are sales. It's just that we couldn't do the sales because January is a short window and it's very difficult. A lot of teams don't want to spend money or they don't have money. So the way I view it is Sancho is a sale, and that's quite obvious because it's built in. But then Rashford is a sale. And if we could have done a deal to sell Rashford and we could have agreed to a deal in January, Rashford would already be sold. And the same goes for Anthony. The only reason why they're loans is because we couldn't get those deals. And I think for them to let those players go, specifically Rashford and Anthony, and you can put Malacia in there as well if you want, to let them go in January when we're already lacking a little bit of depth, and you could see that technically we could use players. If we had two players to replace them or themselves, we could have used them. Now, considering the injuries we had, considering the lack of connect in the attack, we could have used those players. But they made the decision that these players are not part of our future. They're not part of our plans. Get them out, because we need to get them out one way or another at some point. And if we can't do it in January, then let's get them playing football. Let's get some interest in them, and let's get them out in the summer. And I think that's what that is. So me personally, I have zero concerns about Rashford, Sancho, and Anthony coming back. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're done. I think they're absolutely done. Almost says we need more players like Euro that blocks the ball with his head on the ground. We do. And that's part of the mentality aspect of building the team. That's part of the attitude. That's part of, we need stronger mentality players coupled with ability, of course. You don't want just passion players. They have to have ability. But we do need that. We need players that are willing to die on the pitch. We need players to absolutely bleed 90 minutes. And I think Ineos are doing that with the players that they're sort of getting. The profile of the players, it's players that have ability, they have potential, they have longevity in them, but they also have a good attitude and mentality. Now, Osimhen has a little bit of problems because the things that transpired with him and the president in Napoli, I think, sometimes those things happen. I think generally over his career, I don't think he's had those sort of problems. He's not like a Rabiot with his mom agent or something like that. And thank God we stayed away from that, by the way. But yeah, that, and even Cunha, I think Cunha, he's a bit shithousery, but I think actually the way he's handled himself. I actually think there's nothing wrong with Cunha. I've seen some people say some things negatively about Cunha in terms of his attitude or something like that, of like how he is on the pitch. I don't have a problem with that. I think actually Cunha has been very fair. He could have been a total dickhead to Wolves. He could have made it a huge problem. He could have demanded, he could have refused to play, and all sorts of stuff. I think he was fair with Wolves. I think last summer he said, I'm going to stay at Wolves one more season. He's kept true to his word. He could have made a big deal in January and left them. He didn't do that. He signed the contract so they get their money. I think he's kind of a guy that's true to his word. So I think he has a good attitude and mentality. And if he's a bit of a shithouse on the pitch, I think that is a plus. We need characters in this squad. We need strong characters like Cantona was. He was a strong character. Yeah, it came with a little bit of problems because, karate chopping a fan, or doing some crazy things, but it added character to the squad, and coupled with his ability, it was more helpful than harmful. So, I do think that it would be good. Lion says, I do love Rashi, and it's bloody heartbreaking that it's over. Listen, it is sad. It is sad because you wanted Rashford to become like this sort of superstar so we could say he's one of our own and look how great he is. And, you would want him to kind of retire at Manchester United. You don't get one club players anymore in modern football, and it would have kind of been nostalgic, and it would have been, a love story in a certain sense. But we try not to be too attached to players because this is what happens and this is football. I just want to say real quick, I mean, we got 19 likes, so we're absolutely smashing the likes today. I thank you guys so much. I mean, it's a big help to the channel. So thank you to everybody that smashed the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you subscribed, we appreciate that as well. The counter has gone up by itself. We're at 220. I feel like we're higher. We're on the road to 3,000. So if you enjoy the content and you're new, get involved in the chat, by the way. Everybody is allowed to have a say. You don't have to be here. You're welcome to have a say. We welcome all opinions. Keep it polite and, keep it cool, but get involved. We like the new people. Everybody has a say on this channel, so get involved. But I mean, we're absolutely smashing it. I'm over the moon right now. So thank you guys for all the support and love. That's amazing, absolutely amazing. So really, thank you. And we do have a big thing. I want to ask Lyle if he could do that for us now, since we are in the midst of the show. Lyle, we have a Discord opening today. Lyle, if you could please get the Discord link for me, because I didn't have time to prepare that. So if you could get the Discord link and we can put that Discord link in the chat. Today is the opening of our Discord. And you can join and get involved in there. It's a very good Discord. And I want everybody and as many people to get in there as possible. So whenever you can do that, I don't know if he's a bit busy because he does join the chat, and I assume he is working at the same time or doing something. So I do know he's listening. But whenever you do it, don't rush yourself. But if you can do that at some point, just drop it in there. But let's get back to our discussion. Almost says the manager doesn't like the two players though, and that doesn't help. Well, yeah, I mean, but, he doesn't like them or he doesn't want them. And I think the people in charge, such as Wilcox and Vivell, I think they actually agree. Again, these guys are working with the manager, and they've been here longer than Ruben. They've been watching Rashford, and they've been watching Anthony, and they've been watching all these players, and they've been taking notes on them. They see them day to day. They know what they do behind the scenes. And they've been evaluating them. And so I don't think it's just Ruben. I think it's actually all of them together have come to the decision. These players are no good for us. They're no good for our project, and we need to get rid of them. And I think a big one that's involved in that is Omar, because this seems very Omar-ish. This seems very Manchester City-ish, where they do just kick these players out for one reason or another. Once it's determined for whatever, whether they're not hitting the ability, whether they have poor attitudes, whether they're on too high wages and they're not performing to what we paid for them. it seems very Omarish, in my opinion. It seems very sort of Manchester City blueprintish, which is exactly what we need to do. I don't care. I don't care. You know, City stole the blueprint from us at one point, and they transformed it and edited it for you know, modern football, and they made some adjustments to it. We threw our own blueprint out, and we went MIA and off the grid for 13 years. So now we should steal the blueprint from them, because if it's not broke, don't really fix it. They have the blueprint for us. It's laid out, and we make our adjustments for our club and our identity and our football, and we go from there, and we build something new, and we build something that's better than theirs as well, using their own blueprint. And that's exactly what we need to do. Rajat says he is kind of sad he wasn't able to work with Mason. Well, listen, things happen. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but the only thing I'll say on that, I don't really like to talk about it, because it divides opinion, and I don't really want to divide opinion on something that's not really football related. But the only thing I've only ever felt is that he really only has himself to blame, and I blame the club a little bit too, because I don't think we were looking after our players as good as we should. You know, that incident with him and Foden getting in trouble in the England camp always comes back to mind, and I'm just like, I always think about that, and I'm like, we didn't have a lid on these players. We weren't guiding them in the proper way, and we should have been on top of that, because these are young guys, and they do stupid things, and they do get in trouble, and they do things they shouldn't, and you know, they might do things that they regret as a kid. I'm sure everybody's done something at the age of 17 or 18 that they hate themselves for doing it, and they wish they probably never done it. So I mean, it is sad, because he was a talent, but it is what it is. I've moved on from that, so I don't even think about him or whatever. It's, you know, it's quite dusted. It is unfortunate, but it's done. It's done. It is what it is, and we move on. Almost says, I would just be a little bit worried the players that we bring in, the manager doesn't want, and they are gym signings. Do you think he has a say? I think Ruben absolutely has a say. I don't think he's going to get particularly every single signing he may prefer. For example, I think right now we're talking about there's Delap or Osimhen. I think they're saying that he wants Osimhen, and, you know, Wilcox is advocating for Delap. But the thing about a football club that operates properly and that has people that actually know what they're doing is that the signings, sort of like Pep at City. Pep doesn't, I mean, Pep has conversations, but Pep's not doing most of the work. He has his people. They do you know, if Pep says I need a striker, or somebody identifies that, hey, we actually need a striker, right? They'll go get a list of like 3 or 4 players. Now, Pep might have a preference and be like, yeah, I like that guy. I would prefer this guy. But it's up to the other guys to do their job in terms of looking at stats and all that stuff, and, you know, how it's going to go into the team and the project of the club and stuff like that, to pick the best one. So he might not get, you know, he might have certain players that he deems number 1, but I don't think he's against number 2 necessarily. And that's how the club is supposed to work. You know, the manager and these guys, they have to work together. And the manager doesn't always make the best decisions, which is why Erik ten Hag, it didn't go well, because what we did was the opposite. What we did was, they pretty much said to Erik ten Hag, like, yeah, we have no clue what we're doing, so we're just going to give you all the power. You pick all the players you want, and you have all the power. You know, if we give you another option and we want to go for somebody else, you can actually just deny our option, completely block that transfer, and then get the guy that you want. It was total backwards. Now it's complete opposite, because we're actually doing what we're supposed to be doing. So, yeah, I think it's, I think we're actually in a better place. And I wouldn't worry too much. I think they're actually, I think they're actually operating the proper way, which is the manager is involved with the technical director, and Vivel, the director of football, and Omar, and they're all pretty much on the same page. They know what the team needs. They're identifying very good targets, whether it's, you know, target number 1 or target number 2. I think they fit into the systems one way or another. One obviously maybe will be better, but, you know, Ruben won't get everything right, and they won't get everything right, but as long as they're on the same page, it should go decently well. You're never going to get 100% right, but I think we're on a better path. I do. Cunha is one of them players like Yoro. Well, yeah, he's got that little bit of fire. Yeah, he plays with his chest out, like Lion says. He plays with his chest out. He plays with a little bit of fire in him. So I think yeah, Ugarte is a bit like that too. Well, yeah, he's got that South American. I mean, Lisandro's got it in him as well, and I actually very much like Lisandro, and I hope he can stay fit, because I think actually Lisandro is also a leader on the pitch. He's got that fire in him as well. He's got that something about him when he's on the pitch. These guys are all a little bit, they have these extra characteristics to them, which is good, because that's what really fills out the team. That's what fills out the characteristics of a team. We need that. But you don't think he's good enough, in my opinion. I think he would be a good squad player. But listen, but that's what it's all about. I mean, not, there's only 11 positions on the pitch, right? So everybody has to fight for those 11 positions. That's what you want. And, somebody's going to win. Somebody's going to earn that spot to be the starter, because they're going to be performing. But your backup players, you don't want them to just be just a bench player. They should be able to compete with these guys. And, every once in a while, a starter dips in form, and somebody that you deem a squad player is up in form, and they actually take that position. And that's what you need. That's what a well-rounded squad is. That's what a balanced team is. That's what a real team is, right? I mean, I think back to Ferguson times, and there was players that, there used to be times where Park Ji-sung started, and he didn't always start, but he would start sometimes over a player that I'd be like, well, why the hell is Park starting over this guy? I want that guy to start. But Park actually performed very well, and I would consider Park a squad player. But Park Ji-sung did very well, and he actually got into a place where he was performing and he was starting. And that's what you need in the team. You need these options. You need the balance in the squad. Lion says Cunha, Ugarte, and here this Jolinton. I don't know. Nobody is bullying us. I mean, that is a very physical and very tough. Yeah, it is. But Jolinton's not coming. So, but that would be kind of a scary physical aspect that we would have. Alma says, so Cunha is not a broad signing. I think that, listen, I don't know how exactly they go about it. I know it's in a committee, right? I don't know what they do when they sit down and they have discussions, how they came about Cunha. I don't know if Amorim was the one that came up with the idea of Cunha. I don't know if it was Wilcox or Vivella, something like that identified it, and they bring it to Ruben and they said, hey, what do you think about Cunha? And Ruben was like, oh, you guys can get me Cunha? I actually really like that guy. Please get him. You know what I mean? I don't know how that necessarily transpires, but they are all in agreement one way or another. Now, one person might have a reservation about it, but it's sort of a majority thing. So, Ruben is apparently really wants Cunha, and I think the other guys agreed that Cunha fits the system well and would be a good buy. He has Premier League experience, so I think there's many positives about Cunha. So I think they're all sort of in agreement one way or another. It might be for some certain different reasons and maybe some similar reasons, but I think there's the fact that he's such a strong candidate to be the first signing. There has to be a complete agreement between these guys now that they agree that this is the signing that we should be making. So, do you think Cunha is number one or number two? It seems like Cunha is number one right now. And I think Cunha is number one because he's the position for the 10. I don't think there's I don't think there's I don't, yeah, I mean, you said the Lyon player Cherki is a fan signing. I don't think we're interested in him at all. I think he's an option there. I don't think but that's what I think goes into your point. I think Cunha is the number one target for that position. I think they've deemed him that, and it seems that way. So, I think Cherki is a player that he's available. He's there. I don't think there's anything concrete because I think it's more of a wait and see. And I think, if Cunha is the 10, then Turkey would just be an added bonus, which you would then push back and much further down the list. You have to get the other priorities in order, right? I mean, like the 10 and the striker we're going to spend money on that. And then once you do those two, you would argue, you know, some people might say we need a midfielder or another center back or a wing back, so you go for those positions. If you sort that out and you got any money left over and you got any maneuverability, then maybe they go, well, listen, we could also sign Turkey to the squad. Again, I think it's also an option, just like how I'm saying there is a possibility that United can get Delap and Osimhen and sell Rasmus. I think they can also do something where they sell Garnacho, they get Cunha, and they get Turkey. Turkey would be the replacement, because Cunha is coming in regardless. Turkey would be the replacement for Garnacho. I think a striker's coming in regardless. If you get two strikers, one would be a replacement for Rasmus, and one is the striker that we're getting. So there's maneuverability there that we can do. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I think it's plausible that you can say that it can happen, because if we start moving in this way, these things can transpire. So I saw something that he is the manager's #1 target for the position. Yeah, that's what's been reported. That's Ruben Amorim Cunha is his #1 target. But again, I don't know how that transpired. I don't know if Ruben said I would like Cunha and they looked at it and they agreed that he's a good fit, and therefore they started to do work on this, or maybe somebody bring it to Ruben and said, what do you think about Cunha? And he said that Cunha would be absolutely fantastic. Let's go for it. It could have happened one way or the other. I saw that one of our interests in buying him is the system we play now. Yeah, I mean, they play a 3-4-3. Victor Pereira at Wolves, they play a 3-4-3. It's basically the same exact system as us. We play a 3-4-2-1. Again, I never get too fussed about the numbers, because it's about the shape and it's about how you play the actual formation. It's basically the same system. It's basically the same formation, literally, because sometimes our 2-10s are actually wide, so sometimes it actually is a 3-4-3 on the pitch and when we're playing. And he's playing that role. And that's the role that we need, and he's playing it well. And since that new manager, Wolves, has come in, he's adapted to the position very well, and he's performed very well. So he fits it exactly. I mean, you don't have to go too depth into statistics and stuff and start breaking it down. I mean, it's just, he's playing a system that's basically the same as ours. He plays very well in that system at Wolves, and he plays in the Premier League, and we play a similar system. So he should be a good buy. I believe it's done. I don't want to jump the gun, but it looks like it's done for the summer. Well, hopefully. I think maybe it's a little bit slightly too early to say it's done, because I think this has all transpired in about 2 days and it's moved very, very quickly. But let me get to these updates, right? Let me get to these updates, because we have a couple more updates. So we have an update on Delap that I want to get back into, because we're talking about Osimhen. So we have this update about Delap. And Liam Delap is Manchester United. And see, this is what I'm saying. It keeps going back and forth. So Chris Wheeler saying Liam Delap is Manchester United's #1 target, but there are still obstacles to signing him, despite his price dropping to 30 million once Ipswich relegation is confirmed. United face fierce competition, and there are other fees connected with the deal that could push this figure higher. I mean, I don't know how much higher it would go, maybe to 40 million. But again, we keep getting these stories that he's the #1 target, but we're also Ruben wants Osimhen, and in Ruben's say, Osimhen is Ruben's #1 target. The club Wilcox, they're saying that they want to make Delap the #1 target. So it's a bit weird. This situation, because I actually don't know who is actually the #1 target. They keep telling us Delap is the #1 target, but we're also heavily interested in Osimhen, and at the same time they tell you that Ruben prefers Osimhen over Delap. So I don't know if we're gonna get just Delap or just Osimhen, or we're gonna make a play for both at some point in some way, because maybe we do Osimhen and Delap. I mean, maybe we do Cunha and Delap initially in the beginning. We get some sales, and if Rasmus is included in the sale, we then go and we have the money and we go and get Osimhen. And especially if Osimhen is 40 million, we can definitely do that maneuverability. So it's weird. Yeah, the competition is Chelsea. I think Ruben is, I don't think he's like absolutely against Delap. I think he just has a preference. I think he just prefers to get Osimhen. I think he wants the more experienced guy. And I think, I think it probably is something like Delap is a good player, but he's like, I'd rather have this guy because this guy is more experienced and he's more elite. And I can lean and rely on him a lot more than Delap. But I think if you look at Delap's profile and his ability and what he has to offer, I think in that terms, I think Ruben is, I don't think Ruben's like, absolutely not. He doesn't fit what I need at all. It would be a horrible, I don't think he's like completely against it. I just think that he prefers Osimhen over Delap. I think Delap still fits into, the club plan and his system and stuff like that. I just think that he prefers Osimhen because maybe Osimhen is a stronger candidate in his eyes, and it's something that he prefers. So almost says, I think we will only get Delap if the financials doesn't work out. Well, I mean, it can. We have to see how this transpires. It's certainly interesting how this is going. So, but there was another story here about Delap and Osimhen, saying that Ruben Amorim preferred Victor Osimhen over Liam Delap, given his greater experience and proven ability to score in Europe, and that's coming from the Disco Mirror. So this is what's being reported. You say that 30 million for him is too much, bro. I mean, I think it's a standard fee, to be quite honest. In today's times, 30 million is practically almost nothing. I mean, I don't think you're not going to be able to get him cheaper. And actually, though, the reason why it is 30 million is because they're getting relegated. If they weren't getting relegated and they were staying in the Prem, you'd pay more for him. Whether it be 40, 50, or 60 million, they'd be asking for more. So, I think 30 million for a 23-year-old is fine. I don't think it's that much. I mean, he might not necessarily be worth that money in terms of ability or so, but I actually think there's nothing wrong with that fee. I just my whole thing is that I just truly believe that, I'm aligned with the manager. I think I prefer Osimhen because he has greater experience and he has proven ability to score in Europe. So, that's what I would prefer. I mean, I would go for Osimhen or Gyökeres, but Gyökeres isn't even being talked about at this moment in time, and it doesn't seem like we're going in that direction. These two seem to be leading the line, and Osimhen, and Gyökeres has just disappeared pretty much. So you would take Osimhen on loan. I mean, we're not. I mean, I think it's a permanent deal or nothing. Permanent deal, and he's in the last year of his contract. I don't think they want to loan him. I think they want to sell him and get a fee for him. So I don't think there's an option. I'll take Osimhen. Listen, he scores goals. He's a lead striker. I take him. For me, it is what it is. The real story is, why the fudge are we not linked with the Jonathan David is free? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's just not. Maybe. I feel indifferent about Jonathan David. I just feel like Jonathan David is sort of average. And I just don't know about him. I mean, he's free and the interest in him isn't that great. So there's clearly things to his game that teams aren't liking too much. If he's free. I mean, there's no top 4 club looking at him, really. Nobody's really looking at him. Nobody's really too interested in him. So, you might have an opinion about him, but there's clearly something that teams are looking at his game and they're not really buying into it too much because, you know, if a player like that is free, there would be major interest from big teams, and there's not much. The only reason why we were really linked with him is because they kept saying that we have no money and we're broke. And if you have no money and you're broke, well, then that's a deal that you do, because it's either get him or you're not going to get a striker. But if we have money and we're actually going to be serious, then we should actually be doing deals like this where we get Osimhen or Delap or both. So yeah, I don't know. I don't feel too confident about Jonathan David. I actually think Delap is better than Jonathan David. I don't know about Jonathan David. I wouldn't feel confident with him being one of the guys there. I don't know if it would go so well. I could be wrong, but I don't know. But we have these updates. You wanted to talk about the young Argentinian 17-year-old that we're looking to sign. So here we go. Almost says Hugo Etitike is an opportunity also, but keep an out for him. Yeah, I mean, he was mentioned, but right now, I mean, let's see what happens with these stories. Let's see if they die down a little bit or it heats up more, because you know, he was mentioned, but I think that there's certainly a list, but I think right now, with the way things are going, I think Delap and Osimhen are leading the line. I think everybody else is they're just backup options. You know, so let's see how it develops. Because if these stories quiet down and, you know, maybe things transpire and maybe they come into the fray, we can see. But as of right now, this is what seems like is going on. We're working on these deals. Like, we're working on Cunha. We're working on Osimhen and Delap, and we're doing, you know, the homework on it, getting the nitty-gritty details and the small stuff and kind of putting it all together to get to the final stage where we can actually you know, green light the deal and go for it. But we have an update also, which is kind of a little bit out of left field, but there's a young player, Argentinian. His name is Mattheus Cunha. And we received this update before we went live, saying Manchester United are interested in signing 17-year-old attacking midfielder Franco Mastantuono, who has a release clause of around £38 million, which is exceptionally high. I mean, Almo says 30 million for Delap, who's 23 and has 1 year in the Premier League and has like about 12 goals and like 16 goal involvements. This is a player that is playing in the Argentinian league, who is 17 years old, who has a 38 million release clause. I saw a clip or two of him. I listen, I can never tell. I can't tell you if he's going to be good or not. I saw a clip or two of him. All I can say is that he has, you know, he's a small player. He has some similar dribbling qualities to Messi in terms of that he's a short, quick player, keeps the ball close to him, and seems to be good at dribbling. But it's in the Argentinian league. You know, that league isn't the best in terms of quality when you compare it to like the Prem. He is young, so he's 17, so he has, you know, tons of potential. Yeah, I mean, I can't. How can you say that United should pay £38 million for a 17-year-old Argentinian kid that's completely unproven on basically every level, except for hype and some clips and potential? So I mean, cool if we get him somehow, some way, but not for that price. I mean, obviously they gotta get him for way lower, way lower. Because I can't justify that. It's that time again to turn on notification for Fabrizio Romano. Yeah, I mean, I always have them on. I never take them off. I have everybody. I have all the journalists. My entire social media feed is pretty much just journalists notification feeds. I stay on the news as much as I can. But the update following Mastantuono, and this is apparently from a tier 1 Argentinian journalist. This is what the aggregators told us. I know nothing about this journalist, so I can't verify if he's tier 1. I mean, they're supposed to do that job. That's why they're aggregators, and you know, they're supposed to do right by us by giving us the truth and not doing shit for clicks and interaction and trying to be first and trying to be the most the best aggregator out there. So, I mean, we'll take his word for it now, for now. But he said that this is a tier 1 Argentinian journalist, saying Manchester United have shown the greatest interest in Franco Mastantuono with a view to his possible signing this summer. United are constantly following him and know the only way to sign him is by triggering his 45 million euro release clause. I hate that they switch it from euros to and pounds. I think this is probably a bit more of a far-fetched story. I mean, I would be absolutely surprised if we activate this release clause. Considering that we're talking about we need to sign first team squad players, and we don't even know if we can, sign Cunha or sign Delap by activating transfer release clause, and we're going to go out of our way to sign some 17-year-old unproven player for 45 million euros or 37 million pounds. I'm not really believing this story. I don't think United, I mean, if they do, I don't think it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to what we're doing. It doesn't make sense to go and spend this much money on this kid. Like, yeah, they've been focusing on the youth and they've been signing some players, but I just don't see how this kid it becomes a first team player at 17 years old playing in Argentina, and spending that amount of money, because we spent a good amount of money on Euro, but Euro was 19 and Euro was playing in League One. And it's a different level. So I just don't see how it fits in right now. I don't see, I don't see how that goes like that. You say that's too much for the Argentinian player, but if we scouted him very good, I wouldn't mind paying the money. I mean, yeah, but for me, it's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. You're talking about a player that plays English football and has played in the Prem, 30 million. You're talking about a kid that nobody has ever watched. I don't want to hear anybody say that they know anything about him. I mean, there might be one person on the planet, unless you watch the Argentinian league, unless you're Argentinian, unless you're a fan of, River Plate or whatever. But anybody else that's a United fan, nobody's ever watched this kid play. A bunch of people are going to go watch some YouTube clips or some clips on TikTok, and they're going to say he's an absolute baller. And that's not a way to judge a player, because I can clip Jemba and make him look like fucking prime R9 or some shit, So they don't watch him in matches. They have absolutely no clue. And I worry about the fact of that the Argentinian league is nowhere near the level of the Prem. I mean, it's nowhere near the level of Spain or France or Germany, the top 5 countries. So paying that amount of money for that kid, I mean, he better be the next. He better be close to Messi. I mean, he's not going to be Messi, but like, he better be close to Messi or some shit to pay that amount of money for a 17-year-old completely unproven. While we have to sort out the rest of our first team. Because I don't think he's. I think if we buy him, I don't think he's going to go into the first team. I don't think he's that good. I don't think he's that good enough. I think he'll go into the reserves. And I think paying that amount of money to put a player in the reserves, I think is actually quite crazy. The difference, him and Euro, like, Euro was always a plan to be in the first team. Euro can actually play in the first team. I have no clue if this kid can even play to the level of the Prem, can even make it to the bench. I mean, so, yeah, apparently he's the Argentinian Phil Foden. I'm sure he is, because that's what they're going to say, right? So, they always say things like that. I don't buy any of that shit. Listen, I'm all for buying good top young youth prospects, but also it has to make sense. It has to make sense. I mean, if we could get this kid not for that amount of money, because I think that's crazy for the circumstance around him. I mean, I don't know how good he is. I mean, if he is actually that good, then I guess go sign him and let's see him play in the first team, because he should be able to come in. If we're spending that amount of money and he's that good, he should be able to be somewhere on the bench at the very least. On the first team, he should be involved. But considering that we know basically next to nothing about him besides some TikTok clips, yeah, I don't, it just seems a bit far-fetched that we would go and pay this sort of money when we have so many other things we have to sign out, we have to sign a striker. We got to get Cunha, and then we got to get a couple more players in other positions as well. So I just don't know how that's going to happen. Yeah, but we might be able to do install. I mean, maybe, but I think spending that amount of money on this guy when we have to get the striker, the 10, Almo, you want a goalkeeper, right? So a goalkeeper, a center mid, maybe a center back, maybe a wing back, and we're gonna go sign some 17-year-old attacking midfielder that we have no clue if he can play in the first team or not. It just doesn't seem like it necessarily fits into the plan for the immediate future going forward. Now, maybe if we have extra money, once again, I think maybe if we have some extra money and we get most of our deals done, maybe it's a deal they do later on, and they do it. But yeah, I don't see how this fits into what we're doing right now. Lion says, did you see the reports about United hijacking transfer for Enzo Kana? I think I seen something like that, but I didn't really pay attention too much for it. But I think I did see something yesterday about that. So yeah, I mean, those are always possibilities. I mean, we should be doing things like that. I mean, if we can hijack these top talents and we could get them for low fees. I mean, listen, I'm all for it. The way Brighton do things and they go and get these random South Americans for, 5 million and they bring them to the squad, and then all of a sudden, a season or two later, they're worth 60 million. Like, I'm all for that. I think we should absolutely be doing that 110%. And that you can do. That's plausible. That's feasible. I mean, you're paying next to nothing. Go sign some random Argentinian kid, some wonder kid for 5 million that no one's heard about. I don't care about that. Do that all you want. This is crazy to me. If they actually did this, I mean, I think there would be a lot of people that are going to question that move. I just don't think it's very likely at this moment in time. So yeah, Osimhen or Gyökeres, who would you prefer? I don't know. My bias says Gyökeres because he scored a shit ton of goals and he has a good goal scoring record, and it's worked well with him and Amorim at Sporting, and he already played the system. So I feel like I would go for the Gyökeres, but I'm actually just content if we get either one. I'm not actually even too fussed. I'm not gonna have a shit fit if they sign Osimhen over Gyökeres or the other way around. I think it's just important if we get one of the two. Me, preferably, if I was there, I would probably be saying Gyökeres. But you know what? At the same time, I guess whoever Ruben wants as well. It seems like Gyökeres is just not something that we're going to do for I don't know what reason. Whether he doesn't want to come to us, whether we can't do it, maybe there's too much interest in him. Maybe it's too hard of a deal to do because of the amount of interest in him. And it's just a better option for us to go for Osimhen and or Delap. Maybe Gyökeres is just too difficult of a deal to do. And maybe we would end up wasting a lot of time. And we don't have too much time. We have to get these players in for preseason. So I'm so happy we didn't get Sarr when he was at Lee Harvey. He's draws. That's crazy money. No, I mean, it's insane. I mean, that to me just doesn't. I think we'll get Osimhen or Delap. Well, it seems that way right now. It definitely seems like we're going to get, at the very least, one or the two. I would love it if we get both. I would more so love it if we get Osimhen over Delap. If we're going to get one, I want Osimhen over Delap. If you want Delap, I would say the only way that they can make me like getting Delap is if they get Osimhen and they get Delap and they sell Rasmus. That's the only way I'm going to accept, really, Delap. Because I think Delap's a good player, and I'll take him in the squad, and I'll take him in the team. But again, for me, it has to be the experienced striker. It has to be, he has to be the guy. He has to be the top guy. So I want him leading the line. Gyökeres for Højlund development and Osimhen for Obi development. I think regardless of who it is, I think if you had Gyökeres, Gyökeres or Osimhen, I think both of them have something to teach Rasmus. I think regardless of what player it is, I think they develop from them either way. So I want Højlund gone. No development for me. Never happened. I'll sell Højlund, but we won't get two. Well, but you know, I mean, but that's the only way it makes sense for me, Almo. I mean, if you're selling Rasmus, then you actually have to get another striker. Unless we're just gonna rotate, you know, unless we're gonna have Osimhen and we rotate between maybe throwing Cunha up there and Xerxes up there and kind of just rotating that way. But in terms of like out and out striker, I mean, Rasmus is an out and out number 9, and if you sell, I mean, we've been saying we need two out and out number 9s. So getting Osimhen or Delap, I mean, technically is you'll have 2 out and out number 9s. If you sell Rasmus, you're back to 1. So in my thinking, if they're going with having the 2, if you sell Rasmus, then you got to get somebody else. And that would be part of the plan. Like, we're going to move Rasmus and we'll get Delap. It's almost like, listen, if you sell Rasmus for 30 million and you're signing Delap for 30, 40 million, it pretty much cancels each other out at that point. And then you have the younger guy and you have the more experienced guy. And Osimhen, if you could get him for 40 million, you're getting 2, you know, you're completely transforming the number 9 position for, you know, yeah, 70 million, which is what we paid for just Rasmus by himself. But like, you know, I believe that Cunha will play as 9 and the 10. That's why I don't think we will go. Well, that is a possibility as well, because he can do both. And with the amount of options that we have as well, considering, you know, it's 2 positions in the 10 and the way Ruben's system works, you can interchange a lot of players. I mean, you could have Cunha and Bruno starting next to each other. You could have Cunha starting up top. You could have, you know, Bruno and Mount if Mount is healthy. You could have Bruno and Mount. You can put Mount and Bruno. You can put Mano and Mount. You can put Cunha and Mount. You can put Cunha, and you know, you can switch that entire front 3 pretty much a lot. So that is another possibility. I mean, it could be a thing like that. It could be. So, you know, he's played most of his career as a 9. He's playing as the 10 right now. You're right, Lions. He is playing as the 10. He's played most of his career as a 9. He can play that position. I'm well aware of that. He can definitely play that position. So maybe we just do it that way as well. That's also another possibility. I mean, that's a fair shout. You know, I'm just thinking, like, if you have 2 out and out number 9s, because we have Rasmus right now, and they don't, you know, we don't know if they're actually going to sell him or not. And I'm just thinking, like, you know, if they weren't going to sell him, well, you're going to get another striker. So we would have 2 strikers. So I'm thinking of like 2 9s, out and out. With the 3rd as a possibility of rotation or option. Now, if they decided, well, we just need the 1 striker, and then with the options that we have, we can actually rotate, because we can actually, you know, if we need to be, we can put Cunha there, or we can rotate Xerxes in as well there. So it depends what they've thought out. So we got to see what it is. 140 games or so as a 9, says Lines. Oh yeah, by the way, I wanted to say, you were actually right. There was something about the wage. I think I forgot to put it in. So yesterday, Lines, when you told us that he's on about, I think 90 grand a week, I did see that this morning, from, I think Jamie Jackson or somebody reported it. So I think yesterday when I bring that update, I think it was a typo from the aggregator. I think they said that Cunha would want around 150,000. Not that he's on 150,000. He's on 90,000 apparently, according to the journalist. So I think when they quoted Laurie Whitwell, I think they made a mistake. And I think he was saying that he would be asking for 150,000 a week, not that he's on 150,000 a week. I saw that today, so I think you were right yesterday when you said that he's on 90K a week. I think it was a typo from the aggregator. I think they wrote the wrong information from Lori Whitwell. So, Mary Sakala, if I said your name wrong, I'm sorry. I try my best. I'm sorry, Mary. I'll just call you Mary. Says, good evening, my friend. This is what the hell? It's Sani. Sani. I thought you were a different person. Sani, where you been? You lost your phone, and he's back again, and his name is Mary. I should have read the whole sentence first before I started off there. I thought this was just I thought this was a new person. It's Sani. Sani, how you been? From Zambia, long time. Yes, it's been a while. How you doing? You lost your phone. That's unfortunate, but I hope you have a new phone. At the very least. He's on 150K at Wolves. I don't know. I keep seeing two different things. It was literally Jamie Jackson or somebody reported that he's on 90K a week. So I don't know what's going on anymore. So I was bang on the money. Yeah, Lyle, can you get the link for the Discord, please? Can you get the link for the Discord so we could drop it in the chat? I mean, I'll do it if I have to, but it's a little bit more difficult because I have a couple updates that I need to get to as well. Almost says we have to be realistic. Well, at least I am. We won't buy two strikers. We don't work like that. Cunha will be an option for the 9 and the 10 position. I believe that's why we're signing him. Well, very well. I mean, I think basically all options as of right now are sort of realistic. I just think it depends on their thinking. Almo. I don't think it's unrealistic to say. I don't think it's unrealistic to say that you could sign two strikers. I just don't know if that's their plan. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's their plan. Lyle has dropped the link to the Discord. So if you guys want to get in the Discord, join the Discord. Today is the opening of our Discord. He has dropped it. I have pinned the link to the Discord. I look forward to seeing all of you in there. Lyle has built this Discord. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. I think you guys are all going to be taken back when you see the inside of this Discord. It's very well planned out. He's done a fantastic job, and he actually we should take a minute just to big him up and give him a round of applause, because I mean, without him we wouldn't have a Discord, because I was never going to get it done. I'm sorry I let the people down in that aspect, but Lyle saved my bum with that, and he really did a fantastic job. I mean, the Discord is amazing, and I'm super excited. I'm super happy because now we have a home to chat while we're not live, and you know, we're gonna have good discussions in there. We're gonna keep up to date with the news when we're not live, and you know, all sorts of things. We have all sorts of stuff in that Discord, and we have some stuff you know, not even related to football as well. So we got a randomonium in there. We got, I think, something about WWE, and I think there's something involving, you know, something about food and a kitchen. So get in there, click the link. If you don't have Discord, download it on your app store. Create a profile. We will be putting the link in the comment underneath the show after I end the show. So it will be there if you miss it out from here, and we will be putting this link going forward in all of the shows going forward, so anybody can join at any time. So I mean, but yeah, I mean, big up Lyle. I mean this sincerely from the bottom of my heart. I mean, the guy has been just absolutely amazing with helping, you know, and he's done a fantastic job, and he's doing a lot of great things for this channel, and we wouldn't be able to do it without him. So really big thank you to Lyle. Big thank you. You know, he does this out of the kindness of his heart, and because he wants to do these things for the channel, he doesn't have to do them. And you know, and he's done a fantastic job. So you know, I'm really grateful for Lyle, because he's making things happen for this channel that I would struggle or not be able to do on my own, and I would definitely stress out. So yeah, I mean, yeah, almost says I gotta go, man. Take care. Hopefully we beat Bournemouth on the weekend. Well, yeah, we might go live Maybe maybe Thursday. We'll be live Friday for sure, almost. So if you want to drop in, we'll be live Friday for sure, and then we'll be live after the match against Bournemouth. So if you want to drop by, but thanks for stopping by, and thanks for keeping the conversation going. Be good. Take care, buddy, and have a good night, and enjoy yourself and stay safe. Almost, but he also said we couldn't, but we won't, bro. We also have other positions to cover. We will see. We will see. We will see. You might be surprised. You never know. Rajat says, will you take Julian Alvarez, bro, off Atletico? I actually very much like Julian Alvarez. I was actually very pissed that our club did not listen to Ralph Rangnick and sign him in January. And I was also very pissed that Manchester City signed him. I was also very surprised that Manchester City let him go. I think it was kind of, to me, it was kind of insane because I thought he was actually a very good player for them and he was important. And I didn't understand why they ever let him go. I think he's a good talent. I like him very much. I mean, I don't think, I don't think it'll happen in any sense. He's just gone there. I think he's going nowhere. But do I like the player? Yeah. Would I take him at United? Yeah. Yes, it's Sandy. I got that after the sentence. I got that. So, peace out. Yeah. Get in the Discord, drop a like, peeps. Yes, drop a like. We're at 24 likes. We got 17 watching, so we're absolutely smashing it today. Make sure you join the Discord. The Discord is actually, it's going to be very cool. So get in the Discord. Get in the Discord. So who is Mary? Probably somebody he knows, or maybe just a random name they gave him when he created a new, maybe he needed a new login for YouTube or something like that. So but let's close out this show. Let's finish up this show. We got the Discord in there. And by the way, with the Discord is gonna come some who's blocked? Why he blocked? Who's blocked? Somebody's blocked. Who's blocked? I don't know who's blocked. You got to be more specific. You got to tell me what's going on. I don't know who's blocked. I'm not going to repeat that, Rashad. I'm not going to repeat that. Fair enough. You say what you want. But yeah, that what comes with the Discord is we're also going to do some call-in shows at some point. I still have to test it. But we have something in there where you're going to be able to go into a waiting room. And when we do live shows, if you want to come and have your say and actually speak, voice to voice with me, I will pull you into the show. And people will hear your voice and you will be on the channel going forward. And you can, we'll have discussions about whatever you want. Maybe we'll do, I might have to implement a show where we do something that's like topical. And we talk about maybe one topic so we don't go sort of all over the place. But we'll see how it goes and we'll adjust from there. But we're not trying to cancel. Yeah, we're not trying to get canceled. I mean, it's fair enough, in the world, in with your friends and stuff like that. YouTube has certain policies that we have to abide by. So, but we do have 3 more updates, and then we'll see if we got any loose news while I went live. But we do have 3 more updates. Rashford sale, we talked about it a little bit. If Villa can qualify for the Champions League, it's going to be easier to sign Marcus Rashford, which I have my opinion about this, and I don't necessarily buy this. But this is coming from Fabrizio and Give Me Sport. And they continued on by saying they're very happy with the player, and Rashford is also very happy with Unai Emery. And again, I think circumstances change. He's been there. He's gone there. Maybe he was a bit reluctant. Maybe he really wanted Barcelona, and, he wanted to go there for the brand. But that he's been there. Maybe he's enjoyed his time. He likes Emery. Maybe he likes the football they're playing in the project and stuff. So maybe he's bought more into it. So now he's more willing to go to Villa. And it's not just all about Barca. What I will say, though, is I don't buy this line that says if Villa can qualify for the UCL, it's going to be easier to sign Marcus Rashford. I call bullshit. You just sold Duran for 80 million. You just sold Duran for 80 million. So you're telling me selling Duran for 80 million, and now all of a sudden, if you don't get UCL, you're not going to be able to afford Marcus Rashford for 40 million. I call BS on that. That part. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. They should be able to sign Rashford regardless. Whether they have UCL, they don't have UCL. I mean, first of all, I know Villa has money, but second of all, they literally just sold Duran for 80 million. So they got money to do the deal. They're not us. They're not relying on Champions League football, like we are. You know, it's not a detriment to their transfer window. If they don't get UCL, they got money. I mean, obviously they'll lose some money because they won't be in UCL, but it's not like they won't. It's not like they're gonna not have a good transfer window. They're gonna go and buy a bunch of players regardless. So, but Lyons makes a good point. Says maybe they meant it would be difficult to persuade Rashid to sign, and that is an excellent point. I mean, I wish they specified. So you are right. I mean, that's two ways to think about it. I read it and see, this is why text. You remember my whole thing about text? Remember text? See, you can write it one way and somebody will think of it one way. And I thought of it in one aspect. Lyons thought of it in a different way. And this is why text can be a little bit iffy sometimes. But no, Lyons is absolutely right. I mean, if you think about it in that manner, that could mean exactly that from Rashford's standpoint, because maybe he wants to be in UCL. And if they're not in UCL, then maybe Rashford won't want to stay at Villa. So actually, excellent, very good point. Because I was viewing it one way, and I took it one way. But actually, Lyons makes a very good point, and that could actually mean, and maybe that makes a little bit more sense. I was thinking of it from a transfer value, money aspect, but yeah, maybe it's that whole thing with that Marcus Rashford wants a UCL club, and if Villa are not in UCL, then maybe he actually won't want to be there. But if they are in UCL, update Manchester City 2-1 at a time, winner for Man City. Well, that's no good for Villa, because UCL. I mean, perfect time. Look at how that goes. You know, perfect time. I mean, that's putting a little bit damper on that. You know, number one, I mean, I know it's not our club, but I'd rather have Villa in the Champions League than City. I mean, I want City to not be in the Champions League. That would be a nice cherry to put on top of a cake. And then also it would help us out in this situation as well. So, yeah, it was sort of kind of a plus if we had Villa win that match. But yeah, they haven't done it. They haven't done it. They've let us down. They've let us down. Why will YouTube get Eric canceled? Well, Rajat, YouTube has guidelines and policies, and you can't speak and say certain things or everything on YouTube because if you violate those, they can cancel your channel, or they can, you know, they give you a strike or something. They have certain policies, and they're not the best. You know what? I'll say this. You know, I know people are from all over the world, and you know, different cultures have different governments and different beliefs and stuff like that. Not to get too political, but freedom of speech should be the ability to say what you can. YouTube sort of restricts that, in my opinion, because you can't. There's just certain things that you won't be able to say, and I'm not saying you have to say nasty, vile stuff, but I've seen YouTubers, I've seen their channels get taken offline for a week for just talking about a certain topic and not even saying anything absolutely vile. They're just having a discussion, and I've seen their channel get, so it's a fine line when you walk with YouTube, because if somebody reports it or somebody complains, you can get a strike against your channel, and you don't want to be dealing with that, because they can erase your whole thing. So yeah, you have to be a little bit careful. You know, it's their platform. They set the rules. Whether you like it or not, you have to follow it. So yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's nothing wrong, but YouTube exactly like us. It's strict with some words, it's strict with some topics and stuff like that, and it can cause damage. I've seen it happen to YouTubers. More so political YouTubers, you know, people that have political podcasts and stuff like that. You know, if they talk about a certain topic, sometimes their video gets taken down. I find it a bit ridiculous because they don't generally say anything wrong. It's not like they're like trying to crucify people or something like that. They just discuss a topic, and it's a fine line. You know, it's it's between what they determine is what acceptable and what isn't acceptable, and what's acceptable to some people isn't acceptable to some other people. So it's the lines get blurry. So we just try to, you know, do what we can. I'd rather Forest Villa get Champions League over City and Chelsea. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, the biggest one is City. I never really give a shit about Chelsea. I know Chelsea tried to be banter with us, and whatever, and rivals, but I've always looked at Chelsea as like, I mean, this might not sound right, but they're kind of like the little sibling, you know. They're kind of like the little cousin. Like, they don't really bother me at all. I don't have like animosity towards Chelsea. City, I absolutely hate, and obviously Liverpool, we hate them the most. But yeah, like I don't really ever give two shits too much about Chelsea. I kind of look at them as like the little youngling, you know, like, yeah, like you could be annoying, but you're just there, like, whatever, just like, you know, kind of leave me alone, go do your thing. But yeah. Line says YouTube is a nanny state. Well, let's not say too many bad things about YouTube, because maybe they'll ban us just for that. Jeff Hutchinson says Man United has had 70 chances on goal this season compared to Forest, who are on 67 chances. If only we had a striker this season. I mean, yeah, but also I think we've been pretty wasteful all around. I think the attack has been pretty wasteful all around. I don't think it's just the striker. Again, I think sometimes during this season, and I will always make this argument because I think it's valid. I think there's sometimes we just don't play to Rasmus. Sometimes Rasmus doesn't play good, and sometimes Rasmus, you know, just completely, you know, just is disaster. Like that ball when he went to go kick it. I forgot what match that was. It was then the Lyon match when he had that one-time shot inside the box and he kicked it with his left foot, and it was like a, you know, it was like a 3-year-old kicking the ball. It just went completely sideways. It was like soft as hell. You know, when he does things like that, that's obviously his fault, because he's got to do better. I mean, you can't. You should be scoring, or at the very least hitting the target from that shot in that position. But then there's other times in the matches where it's like, bro, this guy can be making the run that he needs to make, and Garnacho or somebody is in front of him, looking at him. And like in a normal situation, any footballer would pass the ball to the kid, and they just are like, nah, and they just pass the ball to the right or to the left, or they stop and they pass it backwards. And I'm just like, dude, why though? Like, you know? So, but regardless, anyway, yeah, a more experienced striker would help us out. But kind of reforming the attack as a whole. The whole attack needs to be reformed as well. So that's why the 10 is important as well. I think we should be doing. We should actually. I mean, we should probably have more. We should be creating more. And we should definitely be scoring more. So, Rajat says we'll rather have Villa or Newcastle get UCL. Nah, not Newcastle. I see. I used to like Newcastle in terms of, like, I used to have sympathy for them because of Mike Ashley, and I feel like no football club deserves to have a piece of shit owner, and I felt sympathy for them because, you know, we have the Glazers, and I always felt like, you know, what Mike Ashley was doing at Newcastle was disgusting. Like the Glazers do at Manchester United is disgusting. But the Newcastle fans are pricks because they get bought out by Saudi Arabia, become the richest club in the world, and then they want to act like a bunch of dickheads to us. So now I no longer I no longer like them either, because it's like, well, you know, you got a little bit of money and you seem to have forgotten who you are and where you come from, and now you want to act like some big bosses, you know what I mean? And think you're bigger than United when you're not, and you never will be. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Newcastle could go do one. But I have respect for Villa. I think they're a good football club, and I think they're wholesome, or whatever. I can't think of the word that I want to use for them. Humble. That's what it is. I think Villa's humble. I think Villa's a humble club. Yeah, Newcastle, not a humble club. At least the fans. Not a humble club. I mean, but even like their social media. Remember when they took a picture and they tried to say they're the real United? Like, come on, man, get out of here. Get out of here, dude. How many will Cristiano bag with this United? Probably 25 plus. maybe 20. I don't know. He plays in Saudi Arabia now. It's a different league. I mean, he scores goals there, but you know, he has gotten older since he left. So Shani is back in his account, dude. Oh my god, what's going on, guys? Why can't we make a WhatsApp group? We have a Discord, Sani. We have a Discord. We don't have WhatsApp. We have a Discord. The link is at the top of the channel in the chat. It's pinned. If you don't have Discord, I mean, you can go get it. If you don't want to get it, then I can't make you do anything. But if you want something similar to WhatsApp, we have a Discord. Today is the launch of our Discord. So, you know, get in there if you want. We're gonna be having good discussions offline and stuff like that. It's gonna be very good. So yeah, funneling oil money. We'll time people out in Discord maybe. Well, yeah, we got that. I mean, I'm gonna have to sort that out a little bit more. But Lyle is sort of in charge in there. He has full access to everything, and he has full rights to do whatever he wants. So. I think there's some parameters that we can set up as well with bots that will do things for us. So we'll do it as it goes along. You know, if we have to do it manually a little bit in the beginning, you know, if somebody's in there acting like a dickhead or something like that, then, you know, we'll do it manually and that's no problem. But we'll set up some automated stuff as well. Do Man City want Cunha as well? I don't think so. How many mods will be there? Well, right now, just Lyle. Right now, just Lyle, because he has full access to everything. You also have me, and then we'll build it out. I think you know, there's spots open for mods. I don't think we'll make a decision just yet. I think you have to. I think somehow you have to. You got to earn the spot of mod. You know, through certain things. You know, dedication. Constantly being available helps a lot because you're doing a job that requires attention and stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes and transpires. But there's definitely going to be, you know, oh, Lions is a mod as well. All right, very good. Well, I mean, Lions is always there as well. I didn't know that. I just, you know, I gave... So Lions is there as well, which is good. So we have 2 right now, and then myself. And, you know, we could always add more going forward. And if it grows exponentially, we're probably going to need more. So it's always open. But we'll see how it goes in the beginning. So, hey, I see Yo-Yo Raj just joined the server. Good to see you in there. Good to see you in there, Rajat. I'm glad you joined. I just got the notification on my phone, so that's very good. Let me see something. So this is the Rashford sale, and let's close out this show. Let's go to Anthony. Small update. Jamie Jackson saying Manchester United would hope to recoup at least 30 million for Anthony dos Santos, and the other 7 Brazilian names that are in his name. But listen, if we recoup 30 million for Anthony dos Santos, I think that's probably the best we're gonna get. I mean, you know, I know we paid 80, and I know that's a 50 million loss, but considering the circumstances, considering how bad he was for us, you know, before he went to Betis, I mean, people were selling him for a packet of crisps, or a bag of hot Cheetos. If you want the American version. A bag of hot Cheetos, you know, and 30 million. And I think these are the things that Manchester United need to be doing anyway. I've always argued this. A lot of people say, oh, who will buy these players? Well, like, listen, I understand maybe 1 or 2. It's difficult. Like, for example, Luke Shaw, because his problem is like injuries, right? And that makes it much more difficult. But like a player that doesn't necessarily play good, and isn't getting paid 350,000 a week. I know many people say, well, who's going to buy that guy? Like, nobody's going to buy him. There's always a team somewhere interested. It's just the willingness of the club. I mean, Maguire was going to get sold at probably 2 or 3 different times, but they wanted to sell him for a certain price and they wouldn't let him go for a different price. Now, the last time, he wanted a payoff and we didn't want to do that. So that was a different situation. But for example, like, you know, there was a team out there that wanted Maguire, and they were willing to offer maybe like 15 or 20 million, and United wanted more than that. And the teams were like, bro, we'll do a deal with you, but we're not going to pay that money. And pretty much all we do is drive away any interest. I think right now we're not doing that because we're looking to do deals. And I think we're actually doing it in a smart way. Because I think the way we were negotiating prior was very dumb anyway. It wasn't a proper way of negotiating. So I think right now, you know, they hope to recoup 30 million. I think when they go into negotiations, they're probably going to ask for 40, maybe even 45. But the way they ask isn't going to be like it's not gonna drive away the interest. They will negotiate on some level. So because when you negotiate, you have to ask high anyway. Even for the fact of like if they're actually willing to accept 30 million, they're not gonna tell them 30 million initially. They're gonna ask for 40 or 45 and then drop it down as they go. So um yeah. Rajat says, "Wow, they got many channels." Yes, yes, we're trying to make it as interactive as possible. Like Lyle is saying, and we are at many topics. And I told you when you go in there, you're gonna see it, and you're gonna be blown away. I mean, Lyle has done an absolutely fantastic job, more than I could have pictured in my head. And he's done it in about 2 days or so, which was I didn't even think. I thought it would take maybe a few days, maybe a week to get everything sorted. So he just completely just blew expectations. So yeah, I mean, I told you guys, I'm not lying. I'm not exaggerating. When you jump in there, you're gonna see how it's formatted. You're gonna be, you're gonna see like holy shit. You know, yo yo. Uh, I'm missing something in the chat. Lyle says we have the power. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Sandy, guys, have a good night. I'm sleeping now. Good night, Sandy. Make sure you come back. Don't go missing. You were missing for too long, Sandy. You were missing for too long. Make sure you come back. We're gonna be live. I don't know about Wednesday or Thursday, but for sure, if anything, we're gonna be live Friday, and we'll be live after the match against Bournemouth as well. So come around there. But have a good night, Sandy. It was good to have you back. You were gone for too long. Last thing I wanted to talk about real quick, Garnacho. We were talking about this earlier in the show. Possibility, maybe there's still that he gets sold. We don't know. Napoli still have a strong interest in Garnacho, according to Chris Wheeler. And these are Garnacho and Rasmus are players that have question marks over their head. We don't know if they're gonna get sold. People have strong opinions on if they should be sold or not, which is fine. But from the club standpoint, it's still very open. We don't know if they're actually going to move them on, if they're actually looking to move them on, if they're serious about it, and if it's actually gonna happen. So, Garnacho and Rasmus are ones that I think we just have to see as we go forward because there certainly is question marks. There certainly is doubts. But I don't know how they're necessarily how it's gonna unfold yet. So yeah. How do you know? How do I know what? No, I'm just saying that, I mean, this is being reported, strong interest, and I'm just saying that they can sell them or they won't sell them. I don't know if they're going to sell them, but based off of the reports that we've been getting for quite some time, there's definitely question marks over them because these stories aren't going away. And I feel like with Garnacho and Rasmus, I kind of feel like at this moment in time, I feel like it's 50-50. We can keep them, we can sell them. I don't think they've necessarily made a decision yet. And I don't think it's a closed story. I think it's one that's open to and we got to wait to see how it unravels. We don't know how it's going to necessarily go. So let me check the internet for you guys real quick because we've been live for quite some time now. So maybe we've gotten some updates while I've gone live that I haven't incorporated into the show, which always happens. And yeah, let's see this. People saying because Villa lost that they don't think that Rashford is going to be staying at Villa. So I don't know. We got to see. We did have an update. There's no source on this for some reason. I think they forgot to put it out, or maybe they are the source. Update 31 minutes ago saying Rashford and Anthony having good loan spells. Oh, it's an opinion. That's why. All right. But they put out saying if we are a serious club, we should be getting nothing less than 50 million for Rashford and 35 million for Anthony, which I think is sort of fair. I mean, I don't know if we'll get those exact fees, but we should be getting somewhere around there. I mean, for me, for Rashford, anywhere from 40 to 50 million will suffice, and Anthony, anywhere from 30 to 40 million would suffice as well. Obviously, we want more, but I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna like cry a river if we sell Rashford for 40 instead of 50 and we sell Anthony for 30 instead of 40. I mean, it's close enough and it's good enough. My main thing is that we actually sell them, and we actually move them on, and then we actually get in players to start the new project. There's an update we also got from Ben Jacobs, he's another credible guy. He's been a little bit quiet, considering all the other guys that got involved in the story today. He gave us an update about Cunha about 30 minutes ago as well. Said Mattheus Cunha is sold on United's long-term sporting project and is open to joining even without Champions League football next season. Terms haven't been discussed as of yet, but another meeting is scheduled before the end of the month. United want to move quickly, given the interest from other clubs. So let's see if that transpires. We have a good, where are we? April 22nd. So there's about a good 8 days, about a week left in this month. Yeah, 8 days exactly. So let's see. I'm sure we're going to get more updates, and if that's real and there's another meeting scheduled before the end of the month, we should get significant updates out of that meeting. So I'm expecting something should transpire within the next week more heavily with Cunha, according to Ben Jacobs, and he is credible. We have an update from Alfredo Padula, talking about Ederson, the midfielder from Atalanta, saying possible developments in the coming weeks for Ederson to Manchester United. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Alfredo is decently credible. He's considered credible by the. I don't know if I'd put him tier 1, but the aggregators do like him, and maybe he could be tier 2 or something like that. But I'm familiar with him. I see him report some stuff like that and whatever. We also got an update from Graham Bailey, who is another one that's pretty good at his job. It says Ruben Amorim and the Manchester United hierarchy are very satisfied with Joshua Zirkzee's first season. United are planning to keep Zirkzee, even though he has attracted interest from elsewhere. So it seems like Zirkzee's going to stay. I would kind of agree with that. I think Zirkzee is a player. He's had one season. It was a rough start. I think he's gotten better. He's improved. He's shown some potential. And I think he is a player that you should keep and see what comes out of next season. And hopefully he progresses and develops and has, an improvement on this season and has an even better season next season. That's the hope. If it, regresses or it doesn't improve as much, then maybe you can kind of think about maybe thinking about looking to move him if you want. But we should be operating in this way. And I very much like the Omar Barada model of you bring in a player, they get 1 to 2 seasons. They have to perform. They have to show their worth. They have to show that there's something there to work with. If not, you got to cut your losses and you got to move on to the next target and you got to keep building. So I think Zirkzee, in the beginning, I had big questions over him. I didn't necessarily like him. I think he's improved a lot. And I think he's gotten a lot better, and I think he's shown something about his game. So I think he's earned the right for another go. I actually wouldn't sell him. I would actually keep him at the club and use him as part of the squad one way or another, whether it's a starter or, coming off the bench, and seeing what he gives us next season, and seeing how much he can develop as a player and what kind of season he can give us. So I agree with that. I like that. That's That's positive for me. Yeah, the empty hat looking pretty empty-ish. Not a lot of fans there at the. I mean, it is at the 41st minute, but we're just gonna say that they were empty anyway, empty had. So yeah, I mean, they do have they do have a lot of mannequins and a lot of plastic in the seats there. So Rashford did score the penalty. So good for him. And and if you go back in early in the show, I said he was going to score it. I knew he was going to score it. So and I don't think there was anything else really, because now we're going back to the time that I started the show. And I don't think there was any other updates. Ben Jacobs, this is all right. So Ben Jacobs gave us two updates actually. He said Liam Delap is going to wait until the end of the season to see who has European Champions League football before deciding his next club. Manchester United and Chelsea are leading contenders. And he also had a lengthy update on Mattheus Cunha. So some of this might be repeated, but I wanted to read what he wrote. And he said, more on Manchester United Mattheus Cunha. Brazilian sold on United's long-term project and open to joining even without UCL next season. Positive talks all framed around the sporting project. Terms not yet been discussed. However, another key meeting is scheduled before this month, which we just said before, but that was aggregated news. This is his full tweet. He goes on to say Manchester United want to move fast, knowing Newcastle United and Nottingham Forest are particularly keen. Cunha wants to stay in the Premier League and is aware Manchester United aren't the only club serious about signing him. Cunha is viewed by Ruben Amorim as a number 10. Wolves see the 62.5 million clause as a market value, but may be open to a more flexible payment structure. Manchester United also feel that number or ballpark is value for money, and I agree with that. No formal approach has yet been made to Wolves by United or any other club. Wolves also want Cunha's exit resolved quickly. As with Diogo Jota and Ruben Neves, Wolves' understanding of Cunha's desire to try a new challenge and the fee received will help fund an important summer, with Wolves expected to be active. United want both Cunha and Liam Delap. Unlike Cunha, understand Delap will wait until the end of the season and assess which suitors have European and or UCL football. Delap's release clause will be 30 million once Ipswich are officially relegated. Chelsea, another of his leading suitors. So I think it seems that's a very good and very interesting and very detailed update by Ben Jacobs. That's why I like Ben Jacobs very much. I follow him very closely. I think it's very interesting, and I think it's a very detailed and very good update. I think it actually makes it a little bit more clear as to why United are also looking at Osimhen as well. If we're not going to sign both, there is potential issues with going for Delap. I mean, we might not get Delap. Delap might not choose us. Delap might choose another club. So therefore, we have to be ready for that. Even if, Delap is actually the number one target and they're going to make him the striker signing and the sole striker signing, if we miss out on him, we will have to go for somebody else like Osimhen. If we don't sign both and we're just going to sign one. So there is a bit of complications there because he's going to wait it out a little bit. I think United are going to push to get it signed as quickly as possible, but I think that will probably come at the end of the season anyway. I mean, we could still do the deal by June 1st because we'll know if we're in Champions League football or not, and I think that's going to have maybe a determining factor for Liam, especially if somebody like Chelsea or something like that are getting involved as well. So yeah, I think that was pretty much it. There was nothing else that was updated to us in that sense. Oh, that's fine. They said this. I look like Eric Lamela. I think somebody told me that one time. Xerxes has definitely found his feet. Xerxes can add a lot and hopefully add more to this team. They certainly can. He certainly can. So I think in the beginning, everybody was like, "What the hell? Why did we sign this guy?" And he looks awful, and we're gonna have to sell him in January. But he definitely has found his feet, and I think these are the players. Again, this is what I talk about. This players. Now you might say to win the Premier League, is he good enough to be on the team? I don't know. But we're not near there yet. We got to take things in steps. And I think there's some players currently in the squad. Maybe in 2 years' times, you move them on. But I think for next season, we can and we should use them because it's going to help us propel, higher up. And I think there's players that it must immediately go. I think there's some players that you could say, well, are they good enough for a team that will win the Premier League? Maybe they're not, but we're not close to that yet, and we have to build. And I think there's some of those players, while they might not be in that team that wins the Premier League, you can use them as sort of a stepping stone to build to that team. And as you continue to get better, then you can continue to, recruit better and get better options and get better players and sort of replace them over a period of time. And also, these players, again, Xerxes first season, I usually always give everybody, first season can go bad. It typically doesn't go super smooth. There's a lot of inconsistencies. So for me, the first season, especially depending on who it is and where they come from, but first season, I give them a lot of leeway. Second season, you got to step it up. And that's why sort of with Rasmus, I feel bad for the guy. I like the guy. I think there's still some sort of a player in there, but I can understand why the club would look to move him on or get rid of him, and I can understand why some fans don't really want him. I get it. So it hasn't gone particularly well for him, and he's regressed. So yeah. So in terms of that, like Xerxes, I think he does get to. He does get another season. He gets another shot. Why not? I mean, I think he's found his feet. I think he's earned the right. So, I think Xerxes is good enough for a Premier League winning team. He adds something different. I mean, he might be. I'm just saying, like, in terms of like just general way, because you know how Almo said that we got to get rid of 15 players. You know what I mean? And in a way, he's right, but in a way, but not in the way that he was initially saying it. You know what I mean? Because he would just remove 15 players right now. But that's not the proper process to go through things. That would cause a lot of disruption in the team, and it would cause a lot of instability to remove that amount of players. And also, I think it's in a list. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he is, maybe he isn't. You know what I mean? But again, I think he deserves another season at the very least. And maybe he gets another season after that. By the third season, maybe you say, you know what? He's a decent player. Over the course of these 3 seasons, he hasn't been horrible. He's not outstanding. We can look to move him on, and maybe we get somebody that's a final piece to the puzzle, or maybe he just develops into a very, very good player for us, and he will be part of that squad. But what I'm trying to say is there's levels to the players. There's some that must immediately, like, there's no chance. There's like zero redemption for them. They've had multiple opportunities. And they failed, and those guys must go. And then there's players like, I would say, like a Mount, like Xerxes. You can make maybe an argument for Rasmus, but it's a bit tougher. Even somebody like Garnacho, like there's arguments to, like, those are players that you can necessarily keep at the club and give them another season or two and see what transpires from those seasons, and then evaluate from there, and then make decisions from there. Because I think, like, if you have Xerxes, if you have Mount, and you have, like, Garnacho, for example, I think they're useful players for next season. They might not be, like, the answer to the Premier League, but I think in terms of where we are now and going into next season and trying to have a better season and be in a stronger position, I think those are players that you can use. I think they'll be impactful. They will be helpful. So, like about pretty much signing that Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos, especially Delap and Xerxes. I hope he does brilliant. Yeah, 20 20 players line says. Also Maz. Yes, Maz. Wait, I think Xerxes, no, one, then Delap Maz came. Um but yeah, I mean, Maz has been a good signing as well. So yeah. But I think that's pretty much it for today because I gotta go do things, and it's been a lovely show. And I knew it was gonna be a fantastic show, and it has been a fantastic show because we absolutely smashed the likes today. So thank you to everybody that smashed the like button. Thank you to everybody that is a new subscriber. Thank you to all the sort of day one subscribers and the guys that have been carrying this channel and the chat and the discussion. Very, very good. I knew it was going to be good, but we absolutely smashed it. I think we have about 26 likes, which is good, especially for a news show. Because I know some people, they get interested by the news, they get bored by the news, but very good discussion as always. We've opened the Discord as well, and the Discord is here. So yeah, I mean, we're moving along. Next is the integration of a call-in show for the peeps out there. And it's going to be moving on very well. I'm trying to think of my schedule. I don't think I will go live tomorrow, although always be prepared for a surprise stream, because with the news that's coming out about these transfers and stuff, if something big transpires, I have a responsibility to go live and share the news and discuss the news. So I don't really plan to do a stream tomorrow, considering we did one Monday, we did one yesterday, and we did one today. So I think Wednesday we will skip it unless something crazy happens. So tomorrow we will skip it unless something major breaks and it's big. And then there's a possibility for a Thursday one. I will let you guys know on a community tab or in the Discord. You know what? Actually, I'll let you know in the Discord. That way you have to join to find out. But for sure, Friday we're gonna do the Friday night shows. I mean, for me it's afternoon, but for most of you it's night. So we're gonna do the Friday freestyle where the chat dictates the show. The chat will dictate the show. The chat will dictate what we talk about, topics and all that. You guys dictate that. Friday is your show. Whatever you guys want to talk about, we will talk about it. And I will be the chat member, and you guys will be the presenters. So and it's a little bit more loose and it's a little bit more fun, and we can kind of discuss some other non-United topics as well. So Friday we will be there. It'll be the same time as this stream, probably 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 3 p.m. So about 7:30 p.m. UK or 8 p.m. UK. So yeah, we'll do that stuff. We have an announcements channel, so join to stay informed. Yes, if you join the Discord, there is a channel that will have the announcements, and we will make announcements there based on shows and stuff like that. So we'll keep it updated in there as well. So I think it's going to be very good. I'm excited for the growth of this Discord. I think the Discord is going to be phenomenal, and as we continue to improve it as well along the way. So but we started it. Today is the start day. Today is the birthday of the Discord. It is called the Red Devil Den. The Red Devil's Den. So jump in the den of the Red Devils and get involved. I think it's going to be very good. Again, shout out to Lyle because he's done fantastic with that. And I couldn't have asked for a better thing. I also at some point I'm gonna implement. Lyle did emojis for the channel or stickers, whatever they are, really. And I'm gonna be throwing those in there soon. So those are gonna go up as well soon. So we're gonna have little custom made emojis and stuff for the channel and stuff like that, so you guys can spam that in the chat as well, and stuff. And we'll be looking to update those as well along the way. But we have a good base. I like some of them. made them a little bit a while ago, but I just didn't feel like it was like the proper time to introduce them just yet. Also, I ended up going on vacation, so there was that sort of holdover as well. So yeah, we're gonna get those in there as well. So it'd be good. It's gonna be good. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for today. Again, thank you to everybody that showed love to the channel by either smashing the like button, subscribing, both. Make sure you turn on notifications. Road to 3,000. We're at 2,920. I have a feeling we're a little bit higher than that, but it did update, so that's good. And get in the Discord. Discord is available and live, and we will be using the Discord to do a live call-in as well some point in the near future. I'm going to have to get this tested out. If I can do it this week, I'll do it this week. I gotta find an opportunity for me to test it, because I need to do sort of like it has to be like a live test, but not a live test. I want to test it before we actually do the shows, but I have to do like a proper, I have to do like a stream, a private stream. I gotta set it up so that like I have somebody to pull in. I got to see how it plays out on the stream, how the sound is, and all that stuff. And I had, me pulling people in from one place to another and stuff like that. So a little bit of a trial and error, private trial and error before we do the real thing. But that's going to come as well. And I think that's going to be huge for the channel. And I think people are going to love it because it's going to be interactive. And I think it's going to be great. So yeah, everybody have a good night. Can you not create a bogus account to stream? Well, what I can do is I can do a live and just make it private, so you guys, so like the public won't be able to access it, but it'll be there on the channel, but it'll be private, so nobody will be able to go in there. So that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna you might see like a thumbnail. I don't know if it pops up and you just can't access it, or it doesn't pop up at all. But what I can do is I can actually create a live show and make it private, so nobody can actually see or go into it. And then from that, I will view it from my end, because I have full access. You guys won't have access. Who is Steez on the Discord? That is me. That is me. Yes. That is my nickname. Little thing before we go to the end of the show. That was going to be my name on this channel, by the way. When I first started, I was just going to be called Steez. I was not going to give you Eric in any form of way. I was thinking about it because Steez is my nickname, and I was just going to go with that. All my profiles are Steez, one way or another. So or they were, at least at one point. And so I was going to go with that sort of moniker, I guess. And I just figured, I was like, nah, I just give you my first name. I was like, it just seems a little bit more, I guess, authentic, to give you a real name. I don't know. I just felt like if we were, if we were going to have a community and some sort of a relationship, I was like, it would make sense for them to know at least my real first name. It was like, I just felt like it was weird. Like, we would know each other and you never knew my actual name. And I'm the presenter. So, yeah, I mean, I never said my name. I was gonna, you did drag it out that one time. I kind of I just was like letting it go. I didn't really say my name in the beginning. I mean, I planned to tell you guys my name at one point. But I kind of, for whatever reason, I was just like, I'll just go without saying my name for like quite some time until somebody asks about it. Which then you guys asked about it, so then I offered it up, you know what I mean? But I was gonna have sort of like an alter ego type of thing where my name was gonna be Steez, and I was gonna tell you my name was Steez, and I wasn't gonna tell you my name was Eric, so you wouldn't have known. But it didn't go that way. So do not have to give information that you do not want to grow. Obviously, yeah, I know. That's why. I mean, the last name thing, I don't do it. It's not because like I don't want to for you guys, like I have no problem with you guys. You know what I mean? Because you guys are you're always here and you're loyal, and I trust you guys, because you've earned it. You know what I mean? You've earned it, from being here constantly and behaving the way you guys do and acting the way you guys do. So I have no problem with you guys. The problem is like the internet is it's a beautiful place, but it's a scary place at the same time, and you just never know who's out there. If somebody gets my first and last name, who knows what they could do? I'm not like a nerd in that aspect. I mean, they can start like hacking stuff, or DDoS me, or um, expose like my addresses and stuff like that. And we don't really need that, because that's just unnecessary BS. You know what I mean? Do you wish to you kept with these? No, 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 because I would have told you when you asked me my name. I would have told you. I would have told you. I would have just told you Steez. I chose to tell you, Eric. I didn't have to, but that was yeah, and it's fine. I'm good with it. I actually prefer it because it's just more normal. It just seems more, again, it just seems more authentic than like me. Doing Steez seems like I'm constantly trying to hide. I'm not a person like that. I'm not. I don't really have anything to hide. I just a little bit of protection, because again, the internet is crazy, and people get their information exposed, like their house address and stuff like that. And there's unfortunately there's some unwell people out there. And I figured, I was like, listen, if this thing ever gets big enough, you sort of get to the point where you kind of can't control things anymore. And if you have thousands and thousands of viewers, unfortunately on the internet, there's some people that are not too well in the head, and you just never know what they might do. um and they could show up to your house. I don't need people showing up to my house. My family lives here. You know what I mean? If I had my own place, maybe I'd be a little bit less concerned because I'd handle it myself. But I'm not. My family lives in this house. I'm not putting them in any sort of danger or anything like that. So, I mean, but Eric is fine. And that's it's just the first name, and that's pretty much it. So, I mean, the internet is the internet, and I'm sure somehow one day, at some point, somebody will go and find, all my social media profiles, and find my thing, and they'll probably expose my last name, because this is what I'm saying. That's how the internet works. It's just, um, it's kind of crazy. There's people out there that they should probably have devoted their life to being detectives because they find information like unbelievable, but not knowing the person, stuff like that. So, um, yeah. So, it is what it is. It is what it is. But I'm gonna go for real though this time. Thank you guys. I love you guys. You guys are the greatest in the world. And I appreciate and I enjoy every moment that we're here discussing Manchester United. You guys are part of the dream. I mean, you're the start of the dream. One day I'd like to hope that I could do this full time. And I can make a living from it. I think that would be absolutely amazing. To have to get to that level, to be able to live off of it. I'm not trying to be greedy and say like, yeah, give me all the money in the world, but I mean, if I could make this a living where I can talk about Manchester United and interact with Manchester United fans throughout the world, and I can make a living from it, and that's my sort of job. I mean, it's a dream job. I love Manchester United. I love football. And if I'm able to do that as a career, that's the greatest thing ever. And you guys are helping me do this. So without you, I can't do it. So I'm always very, very appreciative to you guys. So thank you very much. It means a lot to me. It really does. Because you don't have to be here. You don't have to waste your time. I mean, or whatever. We do long shows, 3 hours. You guys don't have to be here. You don't have to listen to me. You could be anywhere else in the world. There's tons of content out there, but you choose to be here. So that means a lot to me. It really does. It means something. You choose to put your time in here. You choose to be here. You know, and you don't have to. So the fact that you do, I thank you. You know, it does mean a lot. And Lion says we believe. Well, maybe one day. We take it step at a time. We don't get carried away. Maybe one day. That is the ultimate dream. But you know, we're here for the ride. We're here for the long term. So again, thank you guys. Rajat says big up, great show. Take care as well. Take care to you. And Lila says you will get there. YouTube is a good place. Yes, and we're gonna expand as well. Don't worry about it. Again, just like United, we can't put all our eggs in one basket, right? I like YouTube. I disagree with some of the policies and stuff like that, but I like YouTube. I like the platform. I use the platform a ton. And as we continue to grow, we're gonna expand our wings too, and we're gonna get more out there. And we're gonna be all over the place. That's my plan. But timing is a little bit of everything as well. So when I sort of feel like we can make that jump, we will certainly do it. So again, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody that smashed the like button. Appreciate all the new subscribers. Appreciate all the day one subscribers. We will talk very, very soon. We'll talk actually in Discord later on. I'm gonna go eat something or whatever, but I'll pop in for the chat and whatever, and we could talk about some things and have some fun. No stream tomorrow, maybe a stream Thursday. Emergency stream tomorrow, maybe if something breaks, but I don't know what's gonna happen. Definitely Friday. We'll keep you posted in the announcements in the Discord. So GG. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Have a good night. Everybody be good. I'll talk to you guys in the Discord in a little bit. Appreciate it.